What did your dad talk to you about? Nothing much. Adult stuff. Little kids shouldn't ask so many questions. Julian shot a glare at Leo, who was sitting beside her on the couch. You're the little kid. By now, Leo had emerged from his father's study and was having tea with Julianne in the living room. After her walk, his mother had gone into the study with his father. They had been in there for nearly 10 minutes, and both Leo and Julianne were feeling a little on edge, wondering what was being discussed. After a moment, Leo nudged her. So what did my mom talk to you about? Wouldn't you like to know? Julian gave him a sly grin, mimicking his earlier tone. That was adult conversation. Why's a little kid like you asking so many questions? Hey, don't steal my lines. Who's stealing your lines? God, you're so full of yourself. Click. Just as they were bickering, the study door opened and his parents walked out. The sound instantly silenced Julianne, who straightened her posture into perfect form. Leo muttered under his breath, keep pretending. You deserve an Oscar. Julianne ignored him, thinking to herself, oh, Leo Miller, you are so dead tonight. Michelle, arm in arm with Charles, walked over to Julianne. Jules, honey, she began, you came all this way and brought so many wonderful gifts for Charles and me, including that beautiful necklace. I didn't have anything prepared for you, but this jade bangle was part of my dowry when I married into the Miller family. I want you to have it now. As she spoke, Michelle pulled a small, exquisite box made of polished Namu wood from her pocket. The surface was smooth, with faint, golden silk patterns shimmering under the light, exuding a subtle, ancient fragrance. She opened it to reveal a soft velvet interior where a jade bangle rested peacefully. Under the lights, the bangle looked like a pool of shimmering green water, clear and full of life. Up close, you could see delicate, cotton-like threads within the stone, like mist floating through green mountains, adding a touch of poetic haze. The edges were flawlessly smooth, refracting the light into 1,000 tiny sparkles, as if crushed diamonds had been scattered across a placid lake. Its color was rich yet fresh, like the most tender new leaves of spring, brimming with vitality. Every detail was a perfect fusion of nature's artistry and masterful craftsmanship. Oh no, Mrs. Miller, I can't accept this. Julianne waved her hands frantically in refusal. This was your dowry. It's far too precious. You should keep it. The thought is more than enough. It's just a little jade bangle, not worth much. Just take it and have fun with it, Michelle said, grabbing Julianne's hand to slip it on her wrist. Julianne struggled for a moment, but was terrified of accidentally knocking the bangle to the floor, so she didn't dare use too much force. In a matter of seconds, Michelle had it securely on her wrist. There, it's a perfect fit. Michelle nodded with satisfaction. You have such beautiful hands, just like mine when I was your age. They deserve to wear pretty things. She then turned her gaze toward Leo. Mrs. Miller, this, Julianne stood to the side, wringing her hands, completely at a loss. Leo caught his mother's look and immediately understood. He blushed, defending himself. It's not that I don't buy her things. It's that every time I do, she refuses them. Well, you don't ask, you just buy it and give it to her. Then she'll have to accept it, Michelle said, staring down her son. Girls can be shy about these things. You can't always ask. Just give it to her. Mom, you're a genius, Leo said, shooting her a thumbs up. Julianne whispered, Mrs. Miller, I really can't take this bangle. Hush, Michelle cut her off, patting her hand. It's already on. Don't you dare take it off. We're in good health. Think of it as a little something for me. With that, she pressed the Namu wood box into Julianne's other hand. Charles, who had been silent until now, spoke up with a warm smile. Jules, I'm not a man who understands what young ladies like, so I won't pretend to pick out a gift. But take this card. There's a little money on it. Go buy yourself something nice to eat. He pulled out a private bank's black card and handed it to her. The sudden offer of money left Julianne stunned. Blushing, she waved her hand again. No, Mr. Miller, please don't. I really can't. Mrs. Miller has already given me such a precious gift. How could I possibly take money from you too? She hadn't been able to forcefully refuse the bangle, but she was resolute about the card. There was no way she would take it. Seeing her determination, Charles had no choice but to hand the card to Leo, instructing him to give it to her later. After receiving the gifts from his parents, Leo decided it was time for them to leave. It was New Year's Eve, and if they hadn't been held up chatting, they would have left right after dinner. At the car, Michelle said to Julianne, Jules, did you get enough to eat tonight? You have to come visit again soon. I did. Thank you so much for your hospitality. Dinner was amazing. A million pleasantries omitted. As Leo's car slowly pulled away from the gates of Alleian Estates, Julian finally let out a long sigh of relief. Feeling the smooth, warm jade on her wrist, she turned to Leo. Does this mean I have your parents' approval? Of course, Leo said with a grin. The bangle, the money, they definitely approve. Phew, hearing that, Julianne's heart finally settled. Here, Leo said, holding out the black card his father had given him. Take it. What is that? Julian flinched as if the card were a hot potato, pushing his hand away. I don't want it, don't give it to me. You're turning down free money. Leo laughed and tucked the card into his own pocket. If you don't want it, I'll take it. Of course I can't take it. Julianne shook her head. You and your family have been so good to me. How could I possibly take their money? You need to stop thinking like that, Leo said. You're my girlfriend. It's only natural that my family and I would treat you well. You're the one oversimplifying things. Since Leo was driving, Julianne didn't press the issue. Bored in the passenger seat, she took out the Namawood box and did an image search on a high-end auction website. When she saw the price for a matching box, all she could think was, holy crap. Downtown was a gridlocked nightmare. The city had shut down traffic for New Year's Eve, and you couldn't get within 2 miles of the city center. Leo drove around the perimeter of the bustling district, glancing at the dense crowds swarming the sidewalks. There wasn't even space to get out of the car. You'd be flattened in 2 steps. The thought alone was terrifying, so they decided to avoid the pandemonium. So, where to now? Leo asked, cruising down a side street. I have no idea, Julianne said, shaking her head. I remember when I was little, New Year's Eve was just watching the countdown on TV at home. When I got older, I stopped watching TV and just scrolled through my phone, waiting until midnight to post some generic New Year's message. Then I got too lazy to even do that. Come to think of it, I think this is my first time actually going out for New Year's. Leo covered his face, not sure whether to laugh or cry. We're more alike than you think. Oh, Julianne tilted her head, confused. I didn't go out because my family was broke. You're a rich kid. Don't tell me you stayed home because you couldn't afford it. That's of course not. Leo denied it immediately. I just don't like crowds. Okay. With no destination in mind, Leo drove aimlessly through the streets. The main arteries of the city were clogged with people and cars, a single red light causing a massive backup. It wasn't until he finally broke free of the downtown area that the traffic began to flow smoothly again. He kept driving forward, with no idea where he was going. Julianne sat quietly in the passenger seat, letting him lead them onward. What are we in up here? Julianne asked, looking at the dense rows of human filing cabinets that loomed before them. Leo turned to her and smiled. I don't know. I guess the car just drove itself here. That's right. As if guided by some unseen force, Leo had driven them to the projects. Do you want to go take a look? Julianne nodded. Sure. We've got nothing better to do. Leo parked the car, and they walked into the familiar neighborhood. Passing by a concrete flower bed, Julianne paused. On a night just like this, in this very spot, a boy had caught a piece of shredded paper floating in the sky. In that moment, a girl's heart was captured too. Continuing on, they arrived at the base of Julianne's old apartment building. She vaguely remembered standing right here, sobbing into Leo's chest and soaking his shirt. They walked up the stairs. Big Mike's apartment was still dark, and you could see faint traces of fire damage around the door. Julianne had heard that after the fire, Big Mike's family had rented another place. They were planning to renovate the apartment, but hadn't decided on the details, so it remained untouched. Up one more flight was Julianne's old floor. The door to her former home had been completely refurbished by a rental company. It looked brand new. A light was on inside. It got rented out that fast? Leo asked, surprised. Yeah, Julianne nodded. There are a lot of big factories around the projects. Plenty of workers looking for a place to live, so rentals go quickly. Before she could finish, the door opened, and Susie, Big Mike's daughter, stepped out. Julianne let out a small, confused noise, watching Susie emerge from her old home. Susie spotted them immediately at the top of the stairs. Hey, Jules. Leo, she said, bouncing over to them happily. What are you guys doing here? Julianne paused. Leo quickly interjected. Just came back to take a look. Oh, okay. Do you want to come in and sit for a bit? Susie asked, pointing back at the apartment. No, that's okay. We're leaving soon, Julianne said, waving her hand. She looked at her in surprise. You guys rented this place? Uh-huh, Susie nodded. For 6 months. Dad said he didn't want to move too far away, since coming back and forth would be a hassle. Living this close, we can move right back in after the renovations are done and keep an eye on the construction. Julianne nodded. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, when are you two free? Susie asked. Why, what's up? My dad said he never got a chance to properly thank you for last time, and then you moved out. He really wants to treat you both to a meal to say thank you. Julianne smiled and waved it off. Don't talk about thank yous. We're neighbors. Why make it so formal? No, I insist, Susie said, hugging Julianne's waist playfully. You've always been so good to me, Jules. And I'm only safe because of you. I have to have my dad treat you to dinner to thank you properly. Oh, really, it's not necessary, Julianne said, stroking her hair. I've always thought of you as my own little sister. We don't need to be so formal and polite. We do. How about over the holidays? You guys will definitely have time off then. I'll have my dad take you out for a big meal. Hearing Susie's insistence, Julianne glanced at Leo. They shared a smile and finally nodded in agreement. After chatting a bit more with Susie, they prepared to leave the projects. They hadn't gone far when Julianne seemed to remember something and turned back. Susie, after my dad sold the apartment, did he ever come back? Susie thought for a few seconds. He did. The afternoon of your court date. I saw him on the main road at the entrance to the projects. But I never saw him again after that. Oh, okay. Got it. Julianne nodded and followed Leo down the stairs. Where to now? Leo asked. Julianne thought for a moment. How about the beach? Leo and Julianne looked at each other and said in unison, Crescent Bay Beach? And just like that, it was decided. Leo started the car and headed toward the coast. On New Year's Eve, the usually quiet nighttime beach was dotted with people. But compared to the shoulder-to-shoulder chaos of downtown, this felt much more relaxed. A bonfire party was in full swing on the sand. The roaring flames seemed to leap towards the dark sky, sparks flying with a crackling sound, like a joyous song. People gathered around, their faces glowing red in the firelight, beaming with happiness. Nearby, a musician strummed a guitar, notes drifting on the sea breeze. Others were releasing sky lanterns, points of light rising slowly into the air, carrying everyone's hopes for the new year. The whole scene was buzzing with life. Looking up at the sky, filled with lanterns bearing messages of hope, Julianne turned to Leo. Lily, can we release a sky lantern too? Of course, Leo agreed instantly. I think there's someone selling them in the little park by the beach. Want to go look? Yeah. They didn't even make it to the park before they saw a vendor with a small pushcart ambling along the boardwalk. His cart was filled not only with sky lanterns, but also flowers and other assorted trinkets. From the irrepressible grin on his face, it was clear business was good tonight. The moment Leo's eyes met the vendors, the man seemed to understand and immediately pushed his cart toward them. Hey folks, what can I get for you? The vendor asked, gesturing to the flowers and lanterns. Tonight's special. Buy one lantern set, get a marker pen free. Buy 2 sets, get a free bouquet of flowers too. How much for one lantern? Leo asked. The vendor held up one hand, 5 fingers spread. 50. Are you robbing people? Julianne heard the price and immediately started pulling Leo away. Seeing them leave, the vendor called out, Hey, wait. We can talk about the price. Hearing that, Julianne stopped. Leo, standing beside her, was about to cut the price in half and ask if he'd take 25. But Julianne spoke first. $5. Take it or leave it. What? Both the vendor and Leo gasped in unison. Leo thought his own half-price offer was aggressive, but Julianne had just brought out a bazooka, vaporizing a 0 in the process. You've got to be kidding me, miss, the vendor said, flustered. My wholesale price on these is $10 a piece. And today's a holiday special. I'm throwing in flowers, and Julianne didn't wait for him to finish. She just waved a dismissive hand. We just want one lantern. Nothing else. $5, yes or no? But miss, the vendor tried to reason with her, but Julianne gave him no opening, turning on her heel and pulling Leo away again. Leo whispered in her ear, $5 is a little. Chill. Don't talk right now, Julianne instructed. Leo immediately clamped his mouth shut and followed quietly behind her, letting her lead him away without a second glance. It was strange, watching Julianne radiate such a powerful aura. Leo, a full head taller than her, felt like a little boy being led by his mother. An old memory surfaced. Him, as a kid, watching his mom haggle with a vendor at a street stall. This felt remarkably similar. His mother's technique was even more ruthless. She'd get rid of the last digit and then cut the price in half. If the vendor refused, she'd drag him away, and usually, after a 3-second countdown, the vendor would call him back. Leo started counting in his head. 1, 2. Don't go. Fine, I'll sell you one a loss. Sure enough, the vendor called him back. Holy crap, $5 actually worked? Leo thought, the look on his face changing as he stared at Julianne. The victorious Julianne showed no hint of a smile. Her expression remained neutral as she led Leo back. After scanning a QR code and paying the $5, the vendor handed them a new, unopened sky lantern. Need a pen to write with? Smooth ink. I'll give you my wholesale price, $3 a pop. Leo was about to say yes when Julianne cut him off with a wave. Thanks, but we're good. A young lady like you. Such a tough negotiator. That's rare, the vendor said with a chuckle, then turned to Leo. You're a lucky guy, son. Found yourself a girl who knows how to save you money. Frugal girls like her are hard to find these days. Leo didn't know how to respond, so he just laughed awkwardly. Julianne, feeling a bit embarrassed by the praise, waved her hand. Oh, you're too kind. It's not about being a good negotiator. It's just that we're broke. If we had money, who would bother haggling? If the vendor hadn't noticed the expensive watch on Leo's wrist, he might have actually believed her. He just smiled, didn't respond to her comment, and leaned in a whisper, just don't tell anyone you got it for $5. I'll be out of business tonight. Julianne put on a look of pure innocence. $5? What are you talking about? Didn't we pay 50? Right, the vendor said, nodding with a grin. With the lantern secured, they returned to the beach. Leo gave Julianne a thumbs up. That was legendary. Julianne puffed out her chest proudly. That was nothing. Leo gently pinched her cheek, a curious look in his eyes. But, we have money now. $50 and $5 are pretty much the same to me. So, you don't have to go to all that trouble haggling in the future. He had always wanted to say those words to his mother. Since he never got the chance, he was saying them to Julianne now. Julianne didn't catch the undertone in his voice. She just continued proudly. I wouldn't have haggled if he hadn't tried to rip us off with that $50 price tag. Leo nodded, then asked, so what's the real wholesale price for a thin paper lantern like this? Probably $5, right? $5. Julianne scoffed. Try a few cents. That cheap. Go look it up on Amazon if you don't believe me. Prompted by her, Leo actually pulled out his phone and searched. For a small quantity, they were about $1 each. Buy 50, and the price dropped to 80 cents. 100 or two, and they were only 50 or 60 cents each. He's marking up the price 100 times over, Leo muttered, clicking his tongue. Now I see why that vendor was smiling so much tonight. You still have a lot to learn about the real world, Julianne said, patting his shoulder. Stick with me, kid. By the way, Leo said, you told me not to buy a pen. How are we supposed to write on the lantern? Is that even a problem? Just wait, Julianne said confidently. She scanned the crowd, her eyes locking onto a group of 4 guys who were launching their own lantern. She walked over, exchanged a few words, and came back with a pen. She returned, bouncing on her heels, triumphantly holding up the pen for Leo to see. Leo could only say, wow, so you could just do that? How did you borrow a pen so easily? Leo asked. They'd already written on their lantern, so they obviously didn't need it anymore, Julianne said as she began writing on their flattened lantern. Besides, I'm a girl. Getting what I want from a bunch of college guys is easy. A little bit of charm, a few nice words, and they'll lend you anything. It's not like you use these pens for anything else. It's not worth buying one when you could just be a little shameless and borrow one. There's nothing left to say. You're just on another level. You know it. Julianne nodded proudly and handed the pen to Leo. Hurry up and write. I have to give this back to them. What did you write? Let me see. No. Julianne quickly covered the side she'd written on. You write your own wish. No peeking at mine. Oh, come on. One look won't kill you. I'm your boyfriend. Why are you guarding it like it's a state secret? No means no. Just write your own thing. Julianne said, flipping the lantern over. Fine. I won't look, Leo relented, thinking to himself, the second we light it, the words will show through. I'll see it then anyway. The pen had a soft tip, like a calligraphy brush, designed for writing on the lantern's thin paper. Leo took it and, with a flourish, wrote a single, bold line of text before capping it. Julianne looked up, surprised. You're done already? Yep. It's about quality, not quantity. Anything more is just filler. I feel like that was a backhanded comment about me. Of course not, sweetheart. I would never. You totally did. Julianne had written a small essay's worth of words. Curious about his brevity, she asked, so what did you write? Nope. You wouldn't let me see yours. So why should I let you see mine? TC, fine. Don't show me. It's not like I care, Julianne huffed, pouting. After returning the pen, she ran back to Leo to light the lantern. They ignited the fuel block at the base and stood facing each other, gently holding the bottom rim. All they had to do was wait for the air inside to heat up, and it would fly. Leo had assumed the light from the flame would illuminate the paper, revealing Julianne's message. It was a nice idea, but in reality, she had written so much so densely that it was impossible to make out from the other side. The bamboo frame also obscured the words, making it a jumbled mess. Across from him, Julianne was also squinting, trying to decipher his message. But her own dense script blocked the view. She could only guess, vaguely making out her own name, but nothing else. The lantern began to tug upwards. I'm going to count down from 3, Leo said. We let go together. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Whoosh. They released it, and the lantern began to rise slowly, the fuel block crackling. A few seconds later, it floated above their heads, clearing their line of sight. Julianne tilted her head back, watching it ascend. Her beautiful eyes filled with a misty blend of joy and anticipation, twinkling like stars in the night sky. They held a longing for the future, wrapped in the warmth and comfort of the present. We did it. First try, she said, lowering her head to look at Leo. Right. Yeah, Leo said, smiling back at her. The moment their eyes met, the air around them thickened, charged with a romantic energy that would be a crime to waste. Gently, Leo's arms slid around Julianne's waist. As if she'd read his mind, she closed her eyes and tilted her head up slightly in a silent invitation. He leaned in and pressed his lips to hers. The waves lapped softly against the shore, a gentle rhythm set by nature itself. A quiet breeze whispered past, lifting a few strands of hair from Julianne's forehead and carrying the faint, elegant scent of white camellia into the air. Breathing it in, Leo felt a profound sense of peace settle over him. High above, the lantern continued its ascent, drifting slightly off course in the wind. On one side, written in Leo's sharp, elegant script, was a single line, wishing for Julianne Hale to become a great author. The breeze turned the lantern, revealing the other side, where Julianne's neat, rounded handwriting filled the space. The last 19 years felt like a nightmare. I thought about giving up so many times. Then he appeared, a beam of light cutting through the gloom, illuminating my gray world. Standing in the ruins of my old life, I found myself again. So much has happened this year. It feels like a beautiful, impossible dream, and if it is, I hope I never wake up. This is my first year with Leo Miller. There will be many, many more to come. I want to be with Leo Miller forever and ever. Julianne Hale and Leo Miller, forever. At 11:59 p.m., the crowd on the beach began a spontaneous countdown. Leo and Julianne sat on the soft sand, watching a nearby bonfire, and murmured along. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year, Julianne Hale. Happy New Year, Leo Miller. A New Year's Eve on the beach wasn't so bad after all. After the celebration, they left the beach. In the car, Leo started, a little sheepishly, "It's so late. The dorms are probably locked by now. Maybe we should." Before he could finish, Julianne pulled a card from her pocket. "It's fine. I brought my ID and a charger. Let's hit a convenience store, grab some drinks, and go celebrate the new year at a hotel." As she spoke, a wicked grin spread across her face. Seeing her strange expression, Leo suddenly felt like the hunter had become the prey. For some reason, a sharp twinge shot through his lower back. "Your expression is kind of scaring me," he said quietly. "What's there to be scared of? It's not like I'm going to eat you," Julianne said, patting his stomach. "Really? I'm not a very smart man. You wouldn't lie to me, would you?" "Of course not. Do we really have to drink?" "What, are you scared?" "Of course I'm not. The problem is, you're a one-drink wonder. You are not allowed to bring that up." When Leo and Julianne walked into the Sterling family's Ethelberg Grand Hotel again, the concierge at the door recognized them. The receptionist at the front desk greeted them with an even wider smile. "Mr. Miller, Ms. Hale, long time no see." The two exchanged an awkward glance. Leo, summoning his courage, nodded. "Yeah, it's been a while." In reality, it had only been a week since Christmas Eve. The concierge, a seasoned professional, showed no sign of judgment. After all, these two were friends of Damien Sterling. She simply maintained her professional smile and asked, "The same room as last time?" "Yes, please." "Certainly. May I see your IDs, please?" Leo handed them over. A moment later, the check-in was complete, and the receptionist returned their IDs along with the room key. The concierge immediately offered, "Allow me to escort you upstairs." Leo waved her off. "No, that's all right. We know the way." "Very well. If you need anything at all, please use the room's landline. We are on call 24/7. "Great." The Ethelberg Grand was a labyrinth for first-time visitors. With dozens of floors and hundreds of rooms, it also housed a gym, a swimming pool, several restaurants, and even a 3-story shopping center. If you had the money, you could live there for a year without ever needing to step outside. The two of them found their way to the familiar room, swiped the key card, and went inside. The rest of the night, as they say, is history. While Leo and Julianne were in their hotel room exploring the meaning of life, Damien and Serafina were still at the hand-holding stage. 1 hour before midnight. At Serafina's stern insistence, Damen had the city's building management remove the cheesy pickup lines, the massive, unflattering, candid photos of her, taken for Damien's worst angles, and the various romantic scrolling displays from the downtown skyscrapers. To be honest, Damien's mortifying public confession had put Serafina in an incredibly awkward position. At its peak, the downtown crowd had numbered over 100,000 people, which meant 100,000 people had now seen her worst photos. It was a testament to Serafina's good nature that she didn't dump him on the spot. Any other girl would have. Let's interview Serafina about what was going through her mind at that moment. Serafina, at the time, it was all very sudden. I'll admit, the thought of breaking up did cross my mind. But then I remembered that his brain, not being wired right, wasn't exactly a new development. And, well, he's the one I chose to date. I can't blame anyone else. I can only blame myself for my sudden lapse in judgment. Ugh, when you date an idiot, I guess you just have to be the one to indulge him. All right, interview over. Back to the story. Serafina, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to do something romantic, Damen mumbled, head bowed like a child who'd been caught drawing on the walls. They were hiding in a deserted alleyway, because Serafina's face was now recognizable to everyone in the city center, and they needed to figure out a way to escape. How was any of that romantic? Serafina exclaimed, hands on her hips. Even if you wanted to prepare a surprise, couldn't you have at least used some nice photos? What was with the picture of me eating? That wasn't a surprise. That was a horror show. But you look so cute when you're eating. Cute my ass. Forgetting her poise entirely, Serafina grabbed Damen by the collar and shook him violently. Ever since they started dating, her temper had become increasingly volatile. She used to be a lady. No, she still was. Damen just drove her to this. So it was all his fault. Damen immediately surrendered. I was wrong. I'm sorry, babe. It's all my fault. I promise I'll do a better surprise next time. At this, Serafina waved her hands frantically. No, you are forbidden from planning any more of these weird surprises. Oh, Damien's lips formed a pout, and he looked genuinely hurt. Seeing his crestfallen expression, Serafina felt a pang of guilt. Maybe she had been a bit too harsh. Her anger softened, and she gently stroked his head. Okay, it's not entirely your fault. You just had good intentions and terrible execution. The head pat had an immediate effect. Damen lit up like a golden retriever, his eyes shining. So you forgive me? Right, Leo. Julian made me write the golden retriever part. Julianne? Liar. I did not. Stop slandering me. MHM. So can I plan another surprise for you next time? No. Oh, okay. The word no made Damien's ears droop again. He was now a sad puppy. Fine. You can. Yay. In a matter of seconds, he was back to being a happy puppy. But there are conditions. What conditions? Damen looked up at her. To Serafina, he looked a little dorky right now, but also kind of cute. She couldn't help but stifle a laugh. Whatever surprise you plan, it can't be some huge, public spectacle like this one. It has to be something just for the two of us to know about. Okay. Damen snapped to attention and gave a salute. Yes, ma'am. Serafina giggled again. You're so childish. And silly. I'm just trying to make you happy. You're so beautiful when you smile. Damen said, using his index fingers to trace a smile on her lips. Then, he cupped her face in his hands. The atmosphere instantly turned intimate. Serafina seemed to guess what was coming and slowly closed her eyes. But then Damen, the idiot, asked Serafina, "Can I K?" No. The question shattered the mood. Before he could even finish, Serafina pushed him away and snapped, "You big dummy." With that, she turned and stormed off. Damen was completely baffled by her sudden shift. I thought I just made her happy again, he wondered. Why is she mad now? The boy was still too green. He had no clue how a girl's mind worked. But he didn't have time to dwell on it now. He had to run after her. Serafina had every right to be angry. Tonight, Leo and Julianne were about to hit the highway to explore life's mysteries. And here was Damen, asking if he could kiss her. She had already closed her eyes, practically sending him a written invitation. He was the biggest, dumbest idiot in the world. Lost in thought, Serafina walked back into the crowd. She had barely taken a few steps when a little kid recognized her. Hey, Mommy, isn't that the pretty big sister from the screen? Huh. The child's mother looked over at Serafina and let out a little gasp of recognition. No, you've got the wrong person. Serafina covered her face and ran. As much as she appreciated being called pretty by a child, she was terrified of being mobbed by the crowd, so she fled in a panic. Damen caught up to her, immediately taking off his large overcoat and draping it over her shoulders. The coat was warm from his body heat and effectively hid her face. Come with me. I'll take you somewhere private. Damen took her hand and led her through the back entrance of the skyscraper. A runaway heiress, a handsome rich boy throwing his coat over her, escaping from the public eye. It felt like a scene straight out of a soap opera. Serafina's face flushed red again. A security guard at the back door tried to stop them, but Damen simply stated, "I'm Damen Sterling. My apologies, my apologies." "Sterling, I didn't recognize you." The guard immediately stepped aside. "It's fine, thank you." Damen nodded, casually pulling out a couple of $100 bills and tucking them into the guard's collar pocket before leading Serafina swiftly into the service elevator. The guard was still in a daze, looking at the closed elevator doors and the cash in his hand. He muttered to himself, "Aren't the Sterling's eldest son supposed to be some cold, domineering CEO? A terrifying figure who'd destroy your entire family if you looked at him wrong? But seeing him today, he's nothing like the rumors. He even said, 'Thank you' to me. Is he the real Damen Sterling?" The service elevator went all the way to the top floor. Damen led Serafina to the rooftop terrace. If anyone tried to stop him along the way, Damen just said his name, and it worked better than any passkey. After all, this downtown skyscraper was Sterling property. The employee guarding the rooftop door didn't know what Damen was up to, but didn't dare ask. He just meekly advised, "Sir, it's windy up here, and there aren't many safety barriers. Please be careful." "We will be." "Thanks." Damen raised his hand slightly, a few crisp bills pinched between his index and middle fingers. "My girlfriend and I would like to spend a quiet New Year's Eve on the roof. No one else is to come up here without my permission." "Yes, of course, thank you, sir." The man eagerly nodded, taking the tip from Damien's fingers. $500. A couple days' pay. The man happily stuffed the money into his pocket and said, "Thank you, Mr. Sterling." But Damen didn't hear him. He and Serafina were already walking away. Standing at the edge of the rooftop, they could see the entirety of Ethelberg City's most prosperous district laid out before them. Below, the streets teemed with people. In the distance, by the river, Damen had arranged for a multi-million-dollar, top-tier fireworks show. This part of the surprise he had kept to himself. He had originally planned for it to begin at midnight, just as the words Serafina Rose, "Happy New Year," lit up the electronic screens. And with a single phone call, he could have had a helicopter ready to fly them even higher, giving them the best possible view. However, Serafina's name had been removed from the display. Now, at midnight, it would just say Happy New Year. As for the helicopter, that was probably canceled too. Serafina preferred things to be low-key. See, this is how the rich celebrate New Year's Eve. Not by crowding into a packed street, waiting to release balloons at midnight and shouting Happy New Year. At times like this, you just had to say it. Damn those capitalists. Serafina took off the coat and handed it back to Damen. "I'm not cold. You should wear it so you don't get sick." "All right." Damen put the coat back on and gently wrapped his arms around her. They leaned against each other on the rooftop, gazing at the towering skyscrapers in the distance. Tonight, Ethelberg was a river of traffic and a sea of lights, even more vibrant than during the day. "Damen, yeah? What's up? You know, you don't have to prepare these earth-shattering, spectacular surprises for me. I just don't want us to look back on our lives when we're married and only have memories of quiet, everyday moments. You only live once, and you only have one life to love one person. So, I want our love to be passionate, romantic, and spectacular. Something always worth remembering." "You idiot," Serafina said, gently tapping his forehead with her finger. She smiled. "For me, the quiet, everyday moments we spend together are the ones most worth remembering." "Why?" "Because you're in them." They looked at each other and simultaneously burst out laughing. Ha, ha, ha. They laughed like a pair of fools, carrying none of the airs of a high society heir and heiress. They were just a normal couple, deeply in love. At home, their families would scold them for laughing like this, for being undignified. But it didn't matter now. No one else was on this rooftop. No one would care how they laughed. After some time, the crowd below began to stir. The countdown was about to begin. 10, 9. The people below watched the numbers on the giant screen. On the rooftop, the two of them counted down quietly together. 3, 2, 1. "Happy New Year," Damen said. Serafina smiled. "A Happy New Year, every year." Bayou, boom. The fireworks by the river erupted. A multi-million-dollar show, set to last for a full hour. But the most exciting and joyful part is always the first second. The most brilliant and passionate beginning. "Don't tell me this was you too," Serafina said, her eyes welling up. This time, she was genuinely moved. "Yes, a fireworks show just for you," Damen asked cautiously. "This time, are you satisfied?" "You idiot." Serafina threw her arms around Damien's neck and pressed her lips against his. Against the backdrop of exploding fireworks, They shared a deep kiss on the rooftop. No one would disturb them. In that moment, they were each other's entire world. So, you guys spent the whole night on the rooftop? No way, Miller. What are you even talking about? Damien shook his head vehemently. After the countdown, I took her for a late-night snack. And after the snack? Leo asked with a wicked grin. Then we went to sleep, of course. Leo's expression was making Damien blush. Leo pressed on. Where did you sleep? Oh, a hotel. Did you go to the hotel alone? Of course not. Then who else was there? Who do you think? Damien shot Leo a look that screamed, you know damn well who, you jerk. Ha ha. Leo let out a laugh and didn't push any further. But Damien felt the need to clear his name. We just slept in the same bed. It was very pure. We didn't do anything. And if the dorms hadn't been locked for the night, we wouldn't have stayed out. Leo put on a cheesy, knowing expression and nodded condescendingly. Right. No need to explain. I get it. You don't get a damn thing. Damien said, his face dark. We really didn't do anything. Leo asked curiously. So why didn't you stay at the Sterling Hotel? Why go out of your way to find another one? Well, mainly because I was worried my family would ask a bunch of questions. It would have been awkward. Is that the only reason? That's the only reason. All right, Leo nodded, but then, a few seconds later, he shook his head. Sterling, listen to your bro. When you're in a relationship, you gotta be a little shameless sometimes. A girl, especially a girl like Serafina, is usually very reserved. If you don't take the initiative, your relationship won't progress. I'm too embarrassed. Damien lowered his head, red-faced. He whispered to Leo, the first time you and Julianne went to a hotel. You know, how did you trick her into it? What do you mean I tricked her? It was the other way around. Leo's face flushed too. It's always her, corrupting an innocent young man like me. I don't believe you. Stop trying to make yourself sound so pure. Fine, don't believe me. I can't be bothered with you. With that, Leo grabbed the back of the sofa and pulled himself up with some difficulty. What's wrong with you? Damien looked at him suspiciously. My legs are a little sore, Leo said, his face turning an even deeper shade of red. Why would your legs be sore after New Year's? That's adult business. Little kids shouldn't ask so many questions. Leo shot Damien a glare and headed back to his room to catch up on sleep. As for why his legs were sore, it was definitely because the mattress at the Sterling Hotel wasn't soft enough. It was an uncomfortable sleep, that's all. It couldn't possibly be for any other reason, right? A few seconds after Leo went into his room, the sound of snoring could be heard. Damien chuckled. Just how tired is he? After waking up in the afternoon, Leo and Julianne first went to check on their new house to see the renovation progress. The first floor was mostly done, the second and third were still under construction, and the design for the rooftop was being revised due to a slight discrepancy. At this rate, they could probably move in by mid-January. After checking on the house, they drove to the neighborhood where Clara Hale was now living. Leo had wanted to have the hired help cook dinner, thinking it wasn't good for Clara to be in a kitchen so soon after her recovery, but she had insisted. The caregiver couldn't stop her, so Leo had to relent. Leo parked the car, and he and Julianne went inside. As soon as they stepped through the door, the rich aroma of food hit them. The dining table was already laden with a feast. Braised short ribs glistened with a tempting sweet sauce. Stir-fried greens were a vibrant, crisp green. A bowl of hot, silky steamed egg custard was garnished with scallions like emeralds on jade, and there was a huge platter of Leo's favorite, roasted chicken legs. Even with a full table, Clara was still bustling in the kitchen. In one pot, a soup bubbled merrily. In another, she deftly stir-fried ingredients, the oil sizzling and popping. She kept an eye on the soup while glancing at the prepped seasonings, cooking with an effortless rhythm. In the projects, the small stove had limited her. But here, in this villa's kitchen with its powerful burners, endless seasonings, and a fridge full of fresh ingredients, her culinary skills were on full display. Watching her manage 2 pans at once, while also checking on side dishes, Leo remarked with awe, "Your mom's an amazing cook." Of course she is. Hearing her mother praised made Julianne happier than if she'd been praised herself. She lifted her head proudly. My mother started cooking when she was just a little girl. She's been friends with the kitchen for decades. How could she not be amazing? Leo, you're here. Hearing his voice, Clara turned around. Come on, sit down. The food's almost ready. It's okay, Mrs. Hale, you keep going. Don't worry about us, Leo said, sitting down on the living room sofa to wait patiently. Julianne went into the kitchen to try and help. If the hired help hadn't already set the table, Leo would have offered to help too. But Clara wouldn't let Julianne help, shooing her out of the kitchen. Julianne came out and sat on the sofa with Leo, waiting for dinner. Soon, everything was ready. Clara took off her apron and brought out the last dish, a large tureen of soup. There was no way the three of them could finish all this food, so Leo invited the caregivers and house staff to eat with them. They initially refused, citing company policy, but the three of them were so insistent that they eventually agreed. It was a holiday, after all. Rules were meant to be bent. Clara could only eat the lighter dishes, avoiding anything too hard to digest. This feast was really for Leo and Julianne. Seeing them eat happily made her happy. Tonight's chicken legs were fresh, not frozen. They were flavorful and tender, each bite releasing a burst of savory juice. Leo ate several, but as good as they were, he found himself missing the bland, slightly freezer-burned chicken leg he'd had the first time he ate Clara's cooking. Some things, he realized, could only be created at a specific time, in a specific place, under specific conditions. Even if he asked Clara to make it the same way again, it would never taste the same. After all, this wasn't the rundown projects. This was a bright, opulent villa in a gated community. After dinner, Leo went to the car and retrieved the gifts he had prepared. Mrs. Hale, Julianne and I bought you some clothes yesterday afternoon while we were out shopping. You should try them on later to see if they fit. Oh, Leo, you really shouldn't have, Clara protested. You always bring gifts. I've told you not to spend so much money. These clothes, can they be returned? Maybe you should return them. A simple person like me would just be wasting such nice clothes. It's just a little something from us. Julianne and I picked them out together. It's the new year. You have to have new clothes. Leo placed the shopping bags on the sofa. Besides, you can't return gifts you've already bought, right? Well, sigh. Really, you mustn't bring any more gifts next time. I truly don't need them. Seeing her start to yield, Leo quickly agreed. Okay, then please accept them this time. He would just make a verbal promise for now to get her to accept the gifts. He could always find another excuse next time. There was no way he was stopping. The clothes Julianne had picked out fit Clara perfectly. Dressed in her new outfits, she seemed to carry herself with a new elegance. As the three of them sat on the sofa chatting, Julianne deliberately brought up the idea of using the compensation money to buy her mother a small condo with a low down payment. Clara's reaction was immediate and fierce. She adamantly refused. Even with this sudden windfall, she couldn't bear to spend a penny on herself. Her plan was to find a cheap rental back in the projects after the lease here was up and get a part-time job. Julianne was only a freshman, with 3 more years of school ahead. There would be plenty of expenses. That money couldn't be spent recklessly. It could be saved for her daughter's dowry. Leo's family was clearly not ordinary, and if she gave too small a dowry, her daughter might be looked down upon by her in-laws. Of course, Clara's worries were unnecessary. They had already bought a house, paid in full. But Clara had endured too much hardship in her life. Now that the suffering was over and her daughter was grown and thriving, she had no desires for herself. She only felt that she owed her daughter and wanted to make it up to her in any way she could. Seeing her mother's strong reaction, Julianne decided to drop the subject for now. They chatted about trivial things at school for a while longer before getting ready to leave. It was getting late, and someone recovering from a major illness like Clara needed a rest. Clara didn't press them to stay. She saw them at the door and watched their car drive away before going back inside to get ready for bed. Cooking tonight had taken a lot out of her, and she was exhausted. Looks like we can't tell your mom about the house just yet, Leo said in the car. Julianne nodded. She reacted so strongly to just the idea of it. If she knew you bought me a house outright with only my name on the deed, I can't even imagine how she'd react. Leo nodded in agreement. The car fell into a brief silence as they both contemplated the problem. Suddenly, they looked at each other, a spark of understanding passing between them. They spoke at the same time. We'll just have to tell her it's a rental. They both finished the sentence together and then burst out laughing. When they got back to campus, fireworks were exploding over the athletic field. Leo parked the car and asked, "Is there some kind of event tonight?" "Are you serious?" Julianne looked at him like he had grown a second head. "It's New Year's Day. It's the university's New Year's gala. You're the SGA president. Don't tell me you didn't know." "Ahem." Leo coughed, his face turning red. It must have slipped my mind. After the winter sports meet, Leo hadn't paid much attention to SGA matters. Jessica had mentioned the New Year's gala to him, and he had just told her to handle it. Last night, on New Year's Eve, Jessica had even messaged him with some questions about the event, but he'd been busy with Julianne and had given a vague, you-figured-out response. Today was a complete wash. He had been exhausted from the night before, slept in, and then went straight to Julianne's mom's for dinner. He hadn't had a chance to check any group messages. Julianne's reminder brought it all back. Seeing Leo's blush, Julianne grinned slyly. You're not still thinking about naughty things, are you? I am not. Leo glared at her. And even if I were, it would be your fault. You're like a succubus. Ever since I got with you, I feel like you've been draining my life force. Tsh, Julian pouted, muttering under her breath. Says the guy with no stamina who's always asking for more. You're the one who's drained. What did you say? Who has no stamina? You are so done for. Ha ha ha, I'm sorry. After a few minutes of playful fighting in the car, they both got out, their faces flushed. Don't ask why. The car was just very warm inside. Hand in hand, they walked to the athletic field to watch the fireworks. The field was packed with people, as lively as downtown had been the night before. Some couples were even putting on a public display of affection under the exploding lights. After the fireworks finale, Chloe, in a beautiful evening gown, and Tyler Yu, in a sharp suit, walked onto the stage. As they ascended, Tyler deliberately slowed his pace to hold the train of Chloe's gown, a gesture he had repeated all night. The term power couple was practically made for them. They were tonight's hosts. After announcing the final, headlining act, they turned to walk off stage. As the lights dimmed, Tyler once again lifted Chloe's train. It's the last act, you really don't have to bother, Chloe whispered. It's no trouble at all, Chloe, Tyler said immediately. Helping you with your dress is no trouble at all. After Chloe and Tyler's introduction, Jessica walked onto the stage in a stunning, watery blue evening gown. Her song was Yesterday's Horizon, a fittingly nostalgic choice to close out the New Year's gala. The lyric that hit hardest was, turns out the farthest thing in the world isn't distance, but yesterday. Leo loved the song. He hummed along softly to Jessica's rhythm. Julian didn't know the words, but seeing Leo so happy, she swayed her head to the beat with a smile. When the song finished, the fireworks, which had seemingly ended, began to burst in the sky again. The large screen behind the stage lit up with the words, Happy New Year! Jessica took a bow to thunderous applause and walked off stage. Now that's how you close a show. Incredible! Backstage, Ethan Cole was waiting, holding a bouquet of flowers in one hand and a gift bag in the other. The moment Jessica stepped off the stage, he handed her the flowers. Congratulations on a perfect performance, he said with a wide smile. Jessica corrected him. You mean congratulations on a perfect New Year's gala? But thank you for the flowers. All right, and you're welcome. Ethan pulled a Prussian blue scarf from the bag, a perfect match to the one he was wearing. A gift for you. Wow, thank you, Jessica said, pleasantly surprised. It really is exactly like yours. Yeah, matching set, Ethan said, unfolding the scarf. Let me help you put it on. Oh no, don't trouble yourself. I can do it, Jessica said, shaking her head. She handed the flowers to Ethan and wrapped the scarf around her own neck. As she took it, her fingertips brushed against his palm, and she felt a surprising chill. The temperature tonight was near freezing, and her thin evening gown offered little protection. Her hands were red from the cold. Do you have a coat? He asked. It's in the temporary dressing room. I can go get it. You stay here and warm up your hands. I'll get it for you, Ethan said, pressing several already activated hand warmers into her hands before hurrying off to the dressing room. Inside, Chloe was ravenously eating handmade pork and cabbage dumplings that Tyler's sister had brought. After a long night of hosting, she was starving, her stomach aching. The bowl of hot dumplings Tyler had presented her was an irresistible temptation. He had a small bowl for himself, having given the larger portion to her. Is this your sister? Chloe asked. Yeah, her name is Talia. Ming Ming, say hi to Chloe. Hi, Chloe, Talia said shyly. Hey, hello. Your sister is so cute. Her eyes are so big. She's just as adorable as her name. Ha ha, you're too kind. Tyler beamed, happier at the praise for his sister than if it had been for himself. Talia, praised by the pretty older girl, looked down bashfully, unsure what to say. A faint scar was visible on her brow bone, a remnant from her encounter with Nico Sterling. It had healed, but the mark remained. Ethan hadn't wanted to interrupt the cozy scene, but he'd been in such a rush he'd forgotten to ask which coat was Jessica's. He asked quietly, Excuse me, Tyler, Chloe, do you know which coat is Jessica's? Chloe pointed to a black, mid-length puffer jacket on a small table nearby. That one. Ethan walked over and picked it up. Great, thanks. No problem. We're all friends here, Chloe said with a sly, knowing look on her face, like she was watching her favorite ship set sail. You've been visiting our campus pretty often lately, haven't you? You guys have a lot of fun events here. They're very interesting, huh? Is that all? Chloe nodded with a half smile. By the way, Jessica hasn't had dinner yet. Oh, right. Got it. Ethan froze for a second, then gave Chloe a small smile. Well, I won't disturb you guys anymore. With that, he left the dressing room with the coat. Jessica was stomping her feet, clutching the hand warmers to stay warm, when a thick coat was draped over her shoulders from behind. Have you been waiting long? She turned to see Ethan standing behind her, his voice gentle. Not long. Jessica shook her head, pulling the coat tighter around herself. Thank you. You're welcome. Ethan then asked, a little hesitantly, are you hungry? Can I buy you dinner? I should ask Chloe first, see if there's anything else I need to do tonight. You don't have to ask. Oh, why not? I just saw her in the dressing room. She was eating too. I don't think there's anything else you need to do tonight. All right then, let's go. Okay. As Leo and Julianne were leaving the athletic field, they saw Jessica, holding a bouquet, walking out behind Ethan Cole. Julianne acted as if she had discovered a massive secret, nudging Leo. Look. Leo nodded. Stop pushing, I see them. Julianne stroked her chin suspiciously. The scarves they're wearing are the same color. Do you think they're dating? You really want to know? I can ask her for you, Leo said, pulling out his phone as if he were about to text Jessica. Hey, don't. Julianne quickly stopped him. I was just guessing. She then leaned in and whispered, it's fun to gossip behind their backs. Why would you ask them directly? Ha! Leo burst out laughing. He stroked his chin. Speaking of which, where are they going this late, off campus? Probably to get a late-night snack. But there are places to eat on campus. Well, if not for a snack, what else could they be doing? Julianne turned to look at Leo. Leo turned to look at Julianne. She saw him purse his lips, a sly grin spreading across his face. He looked a little devious. Just kidding. And she couldn't help but mirror his expression. That look on your face is suspicious. Julianne pointed at him. Then why are you smiling? Leo didn't drop his grin. This is a pure, innocent smile. Julianne explained. That smile is anything but pure, Leo retorted. Well, that's because you corrupted me. She shot back, blushing. Lies. It's true. Jessica and Ethan probably never would have guessed that their simple trip off campus for a meal would become the subject of such intense speculation. After the gala, Leo and Julianne took a stroll around the dormitory complex. They suddenly felt hungry and decided to grab a late-night snack at the cafeteria before heading back. It definitely wasn't an excuse to spend more time together. They bought their food and found a random table. After a few bites, Leo asked, Don't you have to write tonight? Julianne shook her head. Nope, I took the night off. Again? Didn't you just take last night off for New Year's Eve? Yeah, you get 1 day off a month, Julianne explained, counting on her fingers. Yesterday was the end of the month, my last day off. Today is the beginning of a new month, so my days off reset. That means I get 2 days off in a row. Leo laughed. You're taking 2 days off in a row. Aren't you afraid your little readers will riot? It's fine. It's a holiday. They'll understand. You're so devious. It's not devious, Julianne said, gently tapping Leo's nose with her finger. It's called work-life balance. You have to rest well to write well. Then why not take 1 more day off? Because if I take 1 more day off, I lose my perfect attendance bonus. Ha! What are you laughing at? Julianne raised an eyebrow at him. You're so weak and such a rookie. What good would 1 more day off do me? What did you say? I'm not a rookie at all. You want to go for another round tonight and see? Bring it on. Their bickering escalated until they started a new round right there in the cafeteria of their favorite mobile game. What else would they be doing? Anyone thinking otherwise has a dirty mind. After a few minutes, Julianne looked up. See? You say you're not a rookie, but your bad plays are dragging me down. That was just bad luck, Leo said, getting up and sliding into the seat next to her. Sitting side by side made it easier to coordinate. But as they played, Julianne's head gradually came to rest on Leo's shoulder. A little while later, she propped her leg up on his. Leo was so focused on the game, he didn't even notice until it was over. She was wearing those fleece-lined tights that looked like bear legs. They looked great, but they didn't feel nearly as good as actual bear legs. Don't ask him how he knew. We're in the cafeteria, Leo said, rubbing her leg. Could you maybe sit with a little more decorum? You have the nerve to talk to me about decorum? Julianne slapped his hand away. Where do you think you're touching? You're my girlfriend. What's wrong with me touching you? The slap didn't deter him. In fact, it emboldened him. If he was already getting in trouble, why not make it worth his while? He started rubbing her leg more deliberately. Get off, you big pervert. Julianne pushed his hand away and took her leg off his lap. While it was comfortable, he had a point. Her posture wasn't exactly appropriate for a public cafeteria, and his wandering hands were getting out of control. Just as Leo was about to close the game, a team invitation popped up from Damen. Without a second thought, Leo hit decline and exited the app. A second later, a message from Damen appeared on his screen. Miller, how could you? I thought we were brothers. Leo, what's with the drama now? Damen, you're playing without your brother? Leo, I was just playing with my girlfriend. We're finishing up our snack and heading back. I'll play with you when I get to the dorm. Damien, snack? Where are you eating? Leo, the cafeteria. Damien, bring me something? Thanks. Leo, you've got to be kidding me. Leo, what do you want? Damien, do they have egg fried rice? Leo, fine. Damien, I want all the toppings and 2 extra eggs. Thanks, Miller. Leo, fine. Reading Damien's messages, Leo thought to himself, this guy is officially a lost cause. Ever since Leo had introduced him to that bowl of fried rice, Damien's late-night menu had expanded from instant ramen to include a new staple. Leo bought him a fully loaded fried rice with 2 extra eggs, as requested. He walked Julianne back to her dorm first, then carried the fried rice back to his own. Damien was curled up on the sofa, playing a game. The second he saw Leo, he dropped his tablet and ran over to grab the food. Smells so good. Damien shoveled a huge mouthful of rice and nodded in satisfaction. Eating such high-oil, high-salt food late at night was incredibly satisfying. But Leo was genuinely worried Damien was going to get fat. A domineering CEO getting fat because his roommate kept feeding him cafeteria food was a plot twist that was just too ridiculous. But his worry was probably unfounded. It seemed like Damien was one of those people who could never gain weight, like his perpetual stomach problems. A slim figure was part of his core character design. It's New Year's Day. You didn't go out with your girlfriend? We did. We just got back, Damien said between bites. We went to the New Year's gala on campus. It was pretty interesting. Then why didn't you eat a snack before coming back to the dorm? Serafina is worried about gaining weight, so she doesn't really eat at night. I couldn't just make her sit there and watch me eat. I was going to make ramen when I got back, but since you were at the cafeteria, I just asked you to bring me something. Leo glanced at the electric kettle on the table. It was still steaming. Right, Leo said, waving his hand. I'm going to go shower and get some sleep. He was about to head to his room to grab his clothes when Damien stopped him. Miller, wait. Sit down. I need to talk to you about something. What is it? Just sit. Leo pulled up a chair and sat across from Damien. Damien wiped the grease from the corner of his mouth with a napkin and said, in mid-January, the Jang family is having a birthday gala for their patriarch. Did you get an invitation? Hearing this, Leo's expression turned serious. He shook his head. No, my father doesn't really associate with the Ethelberg families. Do you want to come with me? Damien looked up at him, his expression earnest. As my friend. Well, Leo didn't immediately tell Damien that Ethan Cole had already invited him. Instead, he asked why. Damien replied, because my cousin, Nico Sterling, will be there. That kid is full of dirty tricks. I'm worried I won't be able to handle him alone. Sterling, to be honest, my dad has strictly forbidden me from getting involved with you old money families. All right. Okay, Damien sighed. If you can't come with me, then it's fine. No worries. He couldn't force Leo to go if he didn't want to. But then Leo changed his tune. It's not that I can't go. Damien's eyes lit up. You have a way to get in on your own? I do. Well, that's great. After New Year's, the days seemed to hit the fast-forward button, and in the blink of an eye, it was finals week. The Royal Academy's winter break started on January 15th, the upcoming Wednesday. But it was no time to celebrate just yet. From this Thursday until next Wednesday, excluding the weekend, the remaining 5 days were packed with exams. Of the core subjects, Leo Miller struggled a bit with advanced calculus but could probably squeak by. The exams for his other finance courses, however, were another story. He was completely clueless when it came to finance. An entire semester had gone by, and he'd understood next to nothing, and it absolutely wasn't because he'd let romance distract him from his studies. To ensure Leo could pass his major specific exams starting on Thursday, Julianne had dragged him to the library for a cram session on Tuesday afternoon. Advanced calculus or accounting first? Julianne asked, holding up a textbook in each hand from across the table. If she had shown up in a sexy business suit, cosplaying a stern professor, Leo might have been a little more enthusiastic about the tutoring session. But she was bundled up in a thick puffer jacket, looking like a cute, round little dumpling. In her hands were 2 books that gave him a headache just by looking at them. At this moment, Leo felt absolutely no interest in Julianne. Ahem, to clarify, he had no interest in the tutoring she was offering. Leo mulled it over for a moment before whispering, "Can we start with English Lit? Get lost." Julianne shot him a glare. "Do you really need me to tutor you in English?" Leo's literature grades were the best in their class, but that was his only strong suit. His other grades were average at best, especially in subjects that involved math. The finance major was essentially a STEM field disguised in a business suit. Many of its core courses were math-heavy, which meant a liberal arts was like Leo, was severely handicapped. Leo thought for another moment. Is there anything simple? I want to start with the easy stuff. The kind of material where if you learn it, you're guaranteed to get the points. Julianne set the textbooks down, propping her chin on her hands as she stared at him. You wish. Maybe I should just take the exam for you instead. That's not a bad idea, Leo joked back. His response made her laugh in exasperation. Not a chance, you big dummy. We're in the same exam hall. Then pretend I didn't say that. No shortcuts. You're going to study properly. Is there a reward if I do well? At this, Julianne raised an eyebrow, a sly smile playing on her lips. What kind of reward do you have in mind? Hit. Leo lowered his head, a little embarrassed, his voice dropping. That thing we talked about before, with the black stockings and you walking on my back. Hit. You and your one-track mind. Julianne started to scold him, but stopped herself, swallowing the rest of her words. She paused, then continued, Fine. You want me to walk on your back in black stockings? Then get your class ranking into the top 10. If you can pull that off, I'll agree to your request. You said it. Seeing her agree, Leo's spirits instantly lifted. He craned his neck, leaning in close to her. No takebacks. Just focus on studying you, Julianne said, slapping the open calculus textbook onto his face. Just you watch. I'll show you this young master's incredible learning ability. 10 minutes later. Damn it. Why is math so hard? Leo had imagined he could be like a character in a TV show, catching up on all his missed lessons in a matter of minutes. But 10 minutes in, he was already deflated. Turns out, TV shows were full of lies. A slacker's dramatic comeback wasn't so simple after all. Julianne's eyes narrowed, the corners of her mouth curling into a subtle, mischievous smirk. Wasn't someone just boasting about showing me his incredible learning ability? It's only been 10 minutes, and you're already giving up. Can you even handle it? Damn you. How dare you question a man's ability? You're done for. Provoked by her teasing, Leo felt a new surge of adrenaline and dove back into the wretched thing called math. This time, he lasted a full 30 minutes. And then, he was defeated once more. To hell with this, why is it so hard? Like a deflated balloon, Leo flopped onto the table. Julianne rested her chin on her hand, looking at him with a mix of pity and amusement. And this is just one math class. Our finance program has 3 courses this semester that involve heavy calculations. What are you going to do for the exams? Arg. Leo clenched his fist, pretending it was a dagger, and dramatically stabbed himself in the chest. He flopped back onto the table. Just kill me. I don't want to study anymore. His childish antics made her laugh. By the way, if you hate finance so much, why did you even apply for this major? It's because, Leo started, then trailed off, unsure how to continue. He couldn't just say it was to get closer to her, could he? Because of what? Because of my dad. He forced me to study finance. Leo shifted the blame squarely onto his father. He basically held a knife to my throat, said I wouldn't inherit the family business if I didn't. So I was forced to enroll in the finance program at the Royal Academy. Julianne pressed her lips together, trying to stifle a laugh. You've had it rough. Leo narrowed his eyes at her. That look on your face is definitely mockery. She immediately wiped the smile away. I did no such thing. So what about you? Leo shot back. Why did you choose finance at the Royal Academy? As soon as he asked, he felt the question was redundant. He, the author, was the one who had randomly assigned her this major. Because as a work-study student, I didn't have much of a choice, Julianne said with a sigh. After graduating with a finance degree, the university helps arrange interviews with affiliated companies. It's a chance to get into a major corporation. If I get lucky and land a job at a family company like yours, the pay and benefits are even better than what graduates from other top-tier universities get. Oh, is that right? Listening to her, Leo nodded thoughtfully. What else did you think? That I chose finance for fun. Julianne reached out and gently poked his forehead. My family doesn't have a business waiting for me to inherit. Leo joked, don't worry. Study hard now, and you can come help me manage my family's assets in the future. You'd better be careful. I might just bankrupt your family. If you can manage to bankrupt my family, that would be a feat in itself. Ha! Leo. Leo glanced at Julianne. Don't rush me. I still haven't wrapped my head around those formulas you just explained. It's fine. Take your time digesting the material. I was just idle and wanted to chat about something else. About what? Leo's interest was piqued, and he looked up at her. Julianne rested her cheeks on her clasped hands, her large, clear eyes shining like stars as she gazed at him. You know, she began, if I hadn't been lucky enough to get into the Royal Academy, and lucky enough to be in the same class as you, and then by some coincidence we sparked a little something, and you just happened to help me again and again. What do you think my life would be like? The conversation about their majors had sent her mind wandering to how they had met. From being strangers, practically enemies, to her chasing after him. It all felt so surreal. Thinking back, their entire relationship seemed to be a string of perfect coincidences. Leo looked into her beautiful eyes, thinking for a long while before speaking slowly. Then you would have definitely relied on your own hard work, step by step, to become the person you wanted to be. Julianne shook her head. Without you, I might not have ever gotten the chance to choose my own path. Without you, I probably would have died on that first snowy night. Leo didn't speak. After a long moment, a soft laugh escaped him. He reached out and tapped her forehead gently. You silly girl, what are you thinking about? There's no point in what-ifs. You're right. Julianne shook off the sad mood, a mischievous, cunning smile spreading across her face. Anyway, I've latched onto you, my sugar daddy, and you're not getting rid of me for the rest of your life. How could I ever bear to get rid of you? Leo reached out and gently pinched her soft cheek. You just hold on tight to this rich boy's leg. When I inherit the family fortune, half of the Miller assets are yours. Charles Miller. I don't know why, but I suddenly have a very bad feeling about this. It seems like everything I've worked for all these years is about to be ruined by this kid. Julianne picked up a book. All right, enough useless chatter. Let's get back to studying. Or just kill me. Hearing that it was time to study again, Leo flopped back onto the table. Stop messing around, get up. Julianne reached out and stroked his hair. Don't you want your reward? I do. For the sake of those black stockings, scratch that. For the sake of repaying his parents, Leo gritted his teeth and forced himself to focus on the cryptic math problems. Just as he steeled his resolve, a voice came from behind him. What are you guys talking about? What reward? They both turned to see Damien Sterling and Serafina Rose walking toward them, also carrying finance textbooks. It looked like they were here to review for the exams too. Julianne immediately waved them over. Serafina, you guys are here. Leo, hearing her, turned back. You invited them? Of course. The more the merrier. Creates a better study atmosphere, Julianne said, narrowing her eyes at Leo. And it keeps a certain someone from crying and whining every 5 minutes. Leo blushed. You might as well just say my name. Serafina smiled. We heard you talking about some kind of reward from way over there. Are you having a competition to see who gets better grades? Julianne and Leo exchanged a look, both breaking into a knowing smile. They shook their heads and waved their hands in unison. Nope, you heard wrong. Yeah, there's no reward. You misheard. Serafina sat down next to Julianne, while Damien took the seat beside Leo. So you need a cram too? Leo asked, a wicked grin spreading across his face as he looked at Damien. See? I told you to play fewer video games, but you never listened. Now your grades have slipped, and you have to cram before finals. So what don't you understand? Call me Dad, and I'll reluctantly teach you a thing or two. After the brutal torture of his math session, Leo desperately needed to reclaim a shred of his pride, which explained his sudden burst of trash talk. Damien scratched his head. Miller, Julianne, and Serafina invited me here to help you study. Damien's expression seemed to say, what is this guy even talking about? Leo frowned. You're not here to study. What do I need to study for? Damien looked at Leo, completely bewildered. I'm first in our class for all the major specific courses. You knew that, right? Leo retorted. But you've been playing video games non-stop for the past month. I haven't seen you pay attention in class once. Damien rubbed his nose lightly. That's because I already learned everything the professor is teaching. It doesn't matter if I listen or not. Hearing that, Leo was rendered speechless. Across the table, Julianne couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing at Leo's crestfallen expression. Damien pointed to the textbook on Leo's table. All right, enough talk. Where are you guys at? Sigh. Leo sighed deeply and pointed to the section Julianne had just explained. Here. After an entire afternoon of intense cramming, Leo hadn't learned much. It wasn't his fault. He'd fallen too far behind. Trying to catch up in a single afternoon was a fool's errand. He wasn't some protagonist in a novel with a photographic memory and maxed out learning skills. Fortunately, he had a cheat code, the superpower of being rich. It wasn't too hard to get a few points by cramming and memorizing. All he had to do was get his professors to give him some pointers on the exam topics. After having dinner with Julianne, Leo grabbed his textbooks and headed to the faculty offices. Half an hour later, he walked out, satisfied, with his books full of highlighted key points from each of his professors. Now, all he had to do was memorize the highlighted material. The scope of his review had shrunk considerably. Fantastic. As soon as he got back to his dorm, he received a message from Julianne. Julianne, did you go to the professor's offices to get hints for the exams? Leo, no way. Julianne, you little sneak. You'd do anything to get that reward, wouldn't you? Leo, I really didn't. Julianne, then swear on it. Swear you didn't go to their offices, or you'll lose an inch. Leo, okay fine, I admit it. I went. Julianne. I knew it. After dinner, Julianne and Serafina left the women's dorm together again. It's almost the end of the semester, Serafina said, a bit curious. You're not focused on studying, and you have time to join a club? It's the baking club. You're interested in baking? Not really. I just want to make something nice for Leo. The thought remained unspoken in Julianne's mind. To Serafina, she said, yeah, I've been really into it lately. Let me guess. Serafina tapped a finger on her lips, then smiled. You want to bake something for Leo, don't you? Hey, no way. Julianne denied, her face flushing. I wouldn't be that nice to him. All right. No need to explain. I get it. Serafina squinted, a knowing smirk on her face, a smile that looked exactly like Damien's. It seemed that couples who spent enough time together even started to share the same expression when they were shipping their friends. Seeing her look, Julianne's face turned bright red, and she couldn't find the words to argue. They walked a bit further before Serafina suddenly asked, exams start the day after tomorrow. Why are you thinking about baking for Leo tonight? Julianne explained, I've actually wanted to join the baking club for a while, but I never had time to go over to the culinary arts building to ask. On my way back just now, I saw the club president tabling, so we exchanged contact info. Does Leo know about this? Serafina asked. He knows. He was with me when I added the guy. Julianne turned to Serafina with a smile. But he doesn't know I'm making him something tonight. Julianne had already messaged the club president. As soon as he was done tabling, he'd sent her a message telling her to come to the teaching kitchen in the culinary arts building. Julianne felt a little awkward going alone, mostly because it didn't seem right for her and the male club president to be baking alone in a kitchen. So, she dragged Serafina along with her. On their way to the teaching kitchen, they had to pass by the business school building. Serafina's sharp eyes immediately spotted Leo sneaking out of the faculty offices, clutching 2 books. She gently nudged Julianne with her elbow. Jules, isn't that your boyfriend? Huh. Julianne followed Serafina's gaze, and, sure enough, it was Leo. Even though it was getting dark, she recognized him instantly. Should we go say hi? Serafina asked. No, let's go. Quick. Julianne shook her head and pulled Serafina away. Leo sneaking out of the faculty building late at night with his finance textbooks couldn't possibly mean anything good. Julianne thought about the promise he'd made earlier that evening to rapidly improve his grades, and it all clicked. She took out her phone and sent him a message. Did you go to the professor's offices to get hints for the exams? Leo tried to deny it first, so Julianne dared him to make a nasty vow, just to see if he'd stick to his story. As expected, he confessed immediately. Leo messaged back. How did you know I went to their offices? Did you see me on your way somewhere? Julianne, I'll have you know, I'm secretly a witch. I used my powers of divination and foresaw that you would go to the faculty offices for exam hints. Leo, I find that joke very unfunny. Leo, it'd be more believable if you just said you installed a tracking app on my phone. Julianne, you guessed it. I installed a tracking app on your phone. Leo, don't be ridiculous. What are you doing out of your dorm so late, heading towards the academic buildings? Julianne, that's a secret. I'm not telling you. Leo? Julianne, anyway, I'm busy. Talk to you later. With that, Julianne ignored whatever questions Leo sent next and stopped replying. Meanwhile, Leo was slumped on the sofa in his dorm. Seeing that she wasn't responding, he gave a wry smile and put his phone down. He thought back to their chat, how she'd dared him to swear a vow, or she'd curse him to lose an inch. He couldn't help but mutter, so vicious, so cruel. Wait a minute. What good does it do her if I get shorter? That's like a lose-lose situation. Miller, what are you mumbling about? Damen asked casually as he came out of his room, holding a cup of instant ramen in one hand while playing a game on his phone with the other. Nothing, Leo said, shaking his head. Didn't you just have dinner with Serafina? It hasn't been that long, and you're already eating ramen. This is for a late-night snack, Damen said, placing the ramen on the coffee table and plopping down on the sofa next to Leo. Hearing this, Leo was a bit taken aback. How late are you planning on staying up in the living room? A game takes 20 or 30 minutes, tops. I'll play 2 rounds, it'll be 11, and then it's snack time. After I eat, I'll brush my teeth and go to bed. As he spoke, Damen shoved his phone in Leo's face to show off his game lineup. This is a god-tier hand. Guaranteed win. You should learn from my strategy. No time. I have to go back to my room and study, Leo said, patting the textbooks he'd gotten highlighted. I have to get into the top 10 on the final exams. Damen was curious. Is there some prize for getting into the top 10? What's got you so motivated? I just love studying. That's all. Upon hearing this, Damien stopped his game, looked up at Leo with an expression of pure disbelief, and said with a contemptuous pout, Miller, you could try to fool the readers and your bros with that line, but don't try to fool yourself. Who would ever believe that? You probably wanted to laugh when you said it. If you loved studying, you wouldn't have needed me to tutor you for so long this afternoon. And the key part is, you still didn't get it. He mumbled the last part under his breath. I really do love studying. Whatever, you wouldn't understand. I'm done talking to you. With that, Leo grabbed his books and stalked back to his room. Damien watched the door close, then muttered under his breath while playing his game, I got under his skin. Leo swung his door open. I did not, he yelled before slamming it shut again. He heard that. Damien was surprised. This time, he didn't make a sound, just thought to himself, someone's getting defensive, ha ha. From inside the room, Leo's voice echoed again. Don't you dare gossip about me in your head. The president of the baking club was named Kevin Wong. He was passionate about making food, and according to his own introduction, desserts weren't even his specialty. His real forte was brewing various nutritional soups, especially chicken soup. The reason he'd joined the baking club and become its president after 2.5 years was mainly because the university didn't have a general culinary club, and among the food-related clubs, the baking club was the largest. Unfortunately, the club was on the verge of decline under his leadership. The mixology club next door had twice as many members this year, and his club couldn't compete with the larger clubs for resources. It was a sad state of affairs. But back to the matter at hand. Kevin laid out the remaining ingredients on the counter and said to Julianne and Serafina, we have some ingredients left over for making egg tarts today. Tonight, I'll teach you how to make. He stroked his chin, thinking for a few seconds before continuing, let's make soufflé creme brulee. Ooh, I love creme brulee. Serafina nodded eagerly. Julianne was still a bit lost. Soufflé creme brulee? What's that? Serafina explained. You can think of it as an egg tart without the crust. Exactly, your friend is right, Kevin nodded. But I'll be teaching you my new, improved version. You definitely won't find this in any pastry shop. Hearing this, Julianne's eyes lit up. Now I'm really looking forward to it. Then let's begin. First, separate 5 egg yolks into a bowl. I'll go find the electric mixer, Kevin said, then started rummaging through the kitchen cabinets. Serafina, who had never set foot in a kitchen, was a bit stumped. She whispered, how do you separate the yolk from the white? Kevin, still searching, called out, if neither of you knows how, you can just watch me demonstrate in a bit. It's okay, I know how, Julianne said immediately. As she spoke, she deftly grabbed 2 bowls and set them in front of her. She took an egg, tapped it lightly on the rim of a bowl, and the shell cracked. Carefully, she split the shell in 2. With practiced hands, she passed the yolk back and forth between the 2 halves of the shell, letting the egg white fall neatly into one of the bowls below, while the yolk remained safely in its shell cradle. Then, she tilted the shell, gently pouring the separated yolk into the other empty bowl. The entire motion was seamless and natural. Not a single drop of yolk or white touched her hands. Serafina, who had watched the whole process intently, clapped her hands in praise. That was amazing. Julianne just gave a slight smile. Just the basics. In reality, Julianne simply waved a hand and said, you get the hang of it if you cook often. Besides, there are lots of ways to separate eggs. You don't have to do it my way. Oh, okay. Serafina's eyes were still shining. But it's still so cool. In no time, Julianne had separated the 5 yolks. Kevin had found the electric mixer and a spatula. Add 20 grams of sugar to the yolks, Kevin instructed, and beat them until they're thick and the sugar is completely dissolved. I'll prepare the milk mixture. Okay, they both replied. Ding! Half an hour passed in a blur of sweet anticipation. The oven timer chimed. It sounded like a herald announcing the birth of a delicacy. Julianne, who had been waiting eagerly, quickly put on oven mitts and carefully opened the oven door. A rich, intoxicatingly sweet aroma instantly filled the air. 5 plump soufflé creme brulees sat steadily in their cylindrical ramekins in a water bath. Their surfaces were a perfect, light golden brown, like a sun-kissed beach in winter. A delicate, almost imperceptible sheen glistened on the caramelized tops, as if they were draped in a dreamy, golden veil, adding a touch of elegance and making it nearly impossible not to drool. Wow, looks like a great success, Kevin said, nodding in satisfaction as he admired the 5 beautiful desserts. Looks like we can make soufflé creme brulee for the next club activity. And a dessert this pretty will definitely sell well. That's all thanks to you, Mr. President, Julianne said, immediately placing one of the ramekins on Kevin's workstation. You get to taste the prettiest one. Oh, I couldn't, huh? Well, thank you. Kevin picked up a small spoon and tapped the caramelized crust. It cracked with a satisfying crisp, revealing the smooth, delicate pudding beneath. The taste, naturally, was impeccable, sweet and silky on the tongue, with a rich, creamy flavor. Julianne's verdict was that it tasted a lot like the custard from a KFC egg tart. Serafina declared it the best creme brulee she had ever eaten. The three of them each finished one, leaving two. Julianne packed one for Leo, and Serafina took the other for Damien. Kevin watched them with a smile. So, how was your baking experience tonight? Julian gave a thumbs up. It was great. Serafina didn't speak, but nodded in agreement. So, would you two like to join the baking club? Kevin hadn't spent his evening painstakingly teaching them how to bake just for the dozen or so dollars Julianne paid for the ingredients. His main goal was to recruit new members. Julianne and Serafina exchanged a glance, then nodded. We'll join. Joining the club was simple. They gave Kevin their student IDs, majors, and class sections for his records, and he added them to the club's group chat. After joining, they each left with a still-warm souffle, creme brulee, and headed for the co-ed dorm building. Meanwhile, back in the dorm, Damien had just finished a cup of ramen, wiping his mouth in satisfaction. He had no idea that his girlfriend would be arriving on his floor in 30 seconds and knocking on his door. Leo, tired from studying, had come out to the living room for a breather and to find something to eat in the fridge. The aroma of Damien's ramen had wafted into his room, completely derailing his concentration. Just as Leo was about to raid the fridge, there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. A female voice called out from the other side. Your delivery is here. Miller, you ordered delivery? Damien asked, still studying his game strategy after finishing his ramen. No, I was in my room studying. I haven't even touched my phone. Why would I order anything? Leo said, walking to the door with a puzzled look and opening it. You must have the wrong place. We didn't order any. Leo's words caught in his throat when he saw Julianne standing at the door, holding a small bag. Tada! Julianne held up the little bag with a grin. Jules' Express, at your service. The tip of her nose was slightly pink from the cold, and a faint blush colored her cheeks. Her long, fox-like eyes sparkled, making her look like a clever and playful little vixen. It was impossibly cute. For a moment, Leo was too stunned to react. He just stood there for a few seconds before a smile spread across his face. Are you crazy? He said, wrapping an arm around her waist and pulling her into his embrace. Running around at night without dressing warmly enough. Your face is all red. No, it's not. I got warm from the oven in the kitchen, Julianne said, holding up the bag. I made this specially for you tonight. Wow, what? What is it? Though he had no idea what it was, Leo let out an exaggerated gasp of amazement. At least he was providing the right amount of emotional support. Soufflé creme brulee, it's delicious. Julianne began, starting to open the bag right there in the doorway. But Leo stopped her. Come inside first. Oh, okay. Julianne nodded and handed the bag to Leo. Hey, Serafina, you're here too, Leo said, finally noticing Serafina standing behind Julianne. He'd been so focused on his girlfriend that he hadn't seen her. Serafina waved with a smile. Hi, good evening. Hope we're not interrupting anything by dropping in. Of course not. Why would? Babe, you're here too. It's cold outside. Come in, come in. Before Leo could finish his welcome, Damien, hearing his girlfriend's voice, came scurrying out from inside, bumping into Leo in the process. Leo felt that Damien had lost all semblance of a wealthy young heir. He had been completely tamed, turned into a goofy, lovable husky. After silently roasting Damien in his head, Leo wrapped an arm around Julianne and led her inside. Let's go to my room. The heat is on in there. Julianne glanced back at the other two and whispered in Leo's ear, Is it okay for us to go into the bedroom as soon as I get here? What's wrong with it? We're a perfectly legitimate couple. It's totally reasonable for you to hang out in my room, Leo said with a shrug. Besides, it's not your first time here. Oh, okay then, she replied, feigning innocence. The two of them walked straight into the bedroom. Damien and Serafina, however, stopped in the living room. They weren't quite at the stage where they could casually enter a bedroom without a second thought. They were both still a bit shy. Serafina, what brings you here tonight? Jules went to the culinary arts building to make a dessert for Leo and dragged me along. There was extra, so I thought I'd bring one for you, so you wouldn't have to just sit there and watch Leo eat. That would be too sad. Serafina pulled a simply wrapped creme brulee from her bag. Since she hadn't made it specifically for him, she hadn't bothered with any special packaging like Julianne had. Wow, it's so pretty. Damien looked at the dessert, which was a little bigger than his palm, and suddenly regretted eating the ramen. He was so full that he wasn't sure he could manage another bite of sweet, rich dessert. Jules made these. I just helped out a bit. Serafina noticed the subtle change in Damien's expression. Combined with the strong smell of ramen in the room, she immediately figured out what was going on. Did you just eat ramen? Well, what? Damien's face flushed red, and he shook his head. No, babe, of course not. Why would I eat junk food so late at night? Then why does this room smell so strongly of ramen? Serafina walked over to the trash can by the dining table and glanced inside. Sure enough, there was an empty ramen cup, pork bone broth flavor. That was Miller's. Damien explained, his face red. He studied all night, and mental labor burns a lot of calories. It's perfectly reasonable for him to eat some ramen, right? Leo Miller. Slander. He's slandering me. I only eat spicy ramen. Really? Yes, really. If you don't believe me, you can go ask Miller in his room. Damien was betting that Leo would cover for him, which was why he dared to be so bold. Fine, I'll believe you. Serafina returned to her seat. You should try this creme brulee. I just had one, and it's best when it's still warm. Okay, coming, babe. A sweet souffle creme brulee is delicious on an empty or half-full stomach, but eating it after a full meal can be. Ugh. After just 2 bites, Damien, who was already full, suddenly felt a wave of nausea. He let out a small gag, immediately put down his spoon, and ran to his room to get some water. Serafina didn't understand why he was gagging. She took the spoon, scooped up a tiny bit of the pudding, and tasted it. It was sweet and fragrant, exactly the same as the one she had eaten earlier. She looked at Damien as he emerged from his room with a glass of water. What's wrong? She asked, not joking this time. Are you having morning sickness? Maybe. I just ate a big dinner. My stomach is still full, and this super sweet stuff is making me feel a little sick. That's not right, Serafina said, her eyes narrowing as if she had figured it out. You barely ate half a bowl of rice tonight. Well, okay, the truth is, I'm allergic to sweets. Whenever I eat dessert, I throw up. Could you come up with a more pathetic excuse? Serafina's face darkened, and she tapped him on the head. You were the one who ate the ramen, weren't you? You know you have a sensitive stomach, yet you still eat instant noodles late at night. Can't you eat something else? How many times have I told you? Babe, I was wrong, I'm sorry. I'll be more careful next time. Outside, Serafina stood with her hands on her hips, lecturing Damien. Inside, the atmosphere between Julianne and Leo was a little cozier. After entering the room, Julianne placed the carefully packaged creme brulee on the desk. Seeing Leo's textbook and the math formulas scrawled on his scratch paper, she asked, still memorizing formulas this late at night? Of course. Leo nodded proudly. I'm working so hard to get a good grade. A good student like me deserves to be in the top 10 for all this effort. I don't believe you, Julianne said, shaking her head with a teasing look. You're clearly just blinded by lust, cramming at the last minute because you want that reward, aren't you? Ahem, ahem. Leo's face turned beet red. He coughed a few times to cover his embarrassment before retorting. That's not it. Don't talk nonsense. What black stockings? What backwalking? I'm not interested at all. Don't you dare judge a gentleman by your own petty standards. Oh, Julian nodded, a half smile on her face. Well, since you're not that interested in me walking on your back in black stockings, I guess our previous agreement is off. What do you think? No way, absolutely not. Leo immediately shook his head. We made a deal. You can't go back on it. You're the one who said you weren't interested. I'm interested. I was just joking before. You little sneak. Julian gave him a mischievous smile and pinched his waist. Why'd you pinch me? That's your punishment for cheating by going to the professors for hints. How did I cheat? Getting hints is still part of studying. Cheating is copying answers directly. It's a completely different thing. Don't you slander me. Leo's protest made her laugh. She reached out and pinched his lips, then said, You little punk, always so stubborn. With his lips pinched, Leo mumbled, Kiss me now, and you'll find out just how hard my lips are in your dreams. I'm not kissing you. Julian pushed him away, but the charmingly flirtatious gesture made it hard for Leo not to lean in and kiss her anyway. If Leo could have resisted in that moment, he'd deserve a thumbs up, but he couldn't, so he got a thumbs down. Smack! Leo planted a kiss on Julianne's soft, fragrant lips, then asked with a grin, So, are my lips soft or hard? Julianne put on a disgusted expression. They're stinky. Awful. So gross. Nonsense. They are not. My mouth is clearly fragrant. Leo insisted, peppering her lips with several more kisses. Bois, 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 bois. He looked just like a woodpecker pecking at a tree. MMPH. Okay, your mouth is fragrant, all right? That's more like it. The poor, pitiful maiden, brutally kissed several times by the lecherous tyrant, was forced under duress to admit that the tyrant's mouth was fragrant. So tragic. All right, stop messing around. Come try the soufflé creme brulee I made myself. It's super good. Really? Guarantee. Julianne closed Leo's books, stacked them neatly, and tossed them onto the bed. Then, she placed the dessert she'd made right in the center of the desk. Full of ceremony, Leo sat down properly and carefully opened the box. Wow, he breathed, then asked, "This is so beautiful. It looks as exquisite as something from a pastry shop. Did you really make this?" "Of course I did." Hearing Leo praise her dessert with such high acclaim, Julianne's heart swelled with pride and a sense of accomplishment. That single compliment made the whole evening's effort feel worthwhile. She put her hands on her hips, a little smug. "I even saved the best one to bring back for you. See how good I am to you." It had to be said, the creme brulee she'd given Kevin to taste earlier wasn't actually the prettiest one. That was just a polite gesture. Of course, she had saved the best for herself and her boyfriend. "I love you, babe. One more kiss." Leo puckered his lips and leaned in. Julianne ruthlessly pushed him away. "Get away from me." "Fine." His request for a kiss denied, Leo pouted and tore open the plastic wrap on the disposable spoon. "Wow, this little spoon is so exquisite too." Julianne didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I didn't make the spoon. You don't have to lay on the emotional support that thick. Just try the pudding. You made it so beautifully, I can't bear to eat it." "Maybe." MMPH. Tired of his theatrics, Julianne snatched the spoon from his hand, scooped up a spoonful of the pudding, and stuffed it into his mouth. "Is it good?" MMM. "It's delicious." Leo's eyes lit up as he nodded. He was a huge fan of the egg tarts from KFC's Taco Tuesday equivalent, and this pudding had a very similar texture, but it was slightly less sweet and not as rich, which made it even more fragrant and delicious. It was absolutely perfect. "You're not just pretending it's good to flatter me, are you?" "No, absolutely not." Leo shook his head, then said seriously, "It's really amazing. Try it yourself if you don't believe me." He scooped up another spoonful, about to feed it to her. "I've already had some," Julianne said, pushing his hand away. "If you like it, just eat it all. You must be tired from studying so much. You need to replenish your energy, right?" "Huh? Why do I feel like you're making fun of me?" "I'm not." As he ate, Leo asked, "Did you make this at the teaching kitchen in the culinary arts building?" "Yeah. The president of the baking club taught Serafina and me how to make it." "Oh, I get it. So you were on your way to the culinary arts building tonight when you saw me coming out of the faculty offices, right? Looks like you're not completely stupid. No wonder you said you wanted to join the baking club. It was because you wanted to make me something delicious." "Well, yeah. Why else would I join the baking club for no reason? To pick up cute guys? You wouldn't dare." "Haha. See, all done." Leo showed Julianne the clean pudding container. The container was clean, but a tiny speck of pudding was stuck to the corner of his mouth, which he hadn't noticed. "Wait, what's wrong? You have something on the corner of your mouth. Let me get it for you," Julianne said, suddenly leaning in. The atmosphere instantly turned intimate. Gulp. Leo stared at Julianne. Her eyes were so captivating, as if they could steal his soul. He couldn't help but swallow hard. "You, MMPH." Before Leo could say anything, Julianne pressed her soft lips against his. The kiss made his cheeks flush instantly. He was suddenly reminded of the first time Julianne had kissed him at the taco truck. It felt just like now, except this time she wasn't drunk. After they finished the creme brulee, Julianne and Leo lingered in his room, flirting a little longer before she reluctantly came out. Serafina was still waiting in the living room for her, so they could walk back to their dorm together. Staying the night was definitely not an option. When they emerged from the bedroom, Serafina was still lecturing Damen. "From now on, no more instant ramen at night. You hear me?" "I know, babe." Damen nodded obediently. Seeing Leo and Julianne, Serafina immediately dropped her fierce expression and spoke to Julianne in a gentle tone. "Jules, shall we head back?" Okay. Julianne nodded, letting go of Leo's hand. The moment she did, Leo also reluctantly released his grip. Serafina stood up, grabbed her bag from the coffee table, and said to Leo, "Leo, keep an eye on Damen. If he eats any more junk food at night, you tell me." "Huh." Leo was taken aback for a second, then quickly nodded. "You got it, no problem." He turned to give Damen a wicked smile. "Millie." Damen pointed at Leo, his face a mask of shocked betrayal. Leo didn't say anything, just narrowed his eyes and grinned. "You what?" Serafina cut Damen off. "Did you hear what I just said? Your stomach isn't good, so stop treating your body like it's invincible." Don't worry, babe. I'll remember." We're leaving. Bye. The two guys walked their girlfriends to the dorm entrance, watching until their figures disappeared around the corner. Leo let out a sigh. Damen, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief. What are you sighing about? Leo asked, looking at him. My girlfriend is finally gone. If she'd stayed any longer, she would have kept scolding me for ages. She's not wrong. You do have a sensitive stomach. You really should cut back on the ramen. I know, Damen replied unhappily, then shot back. So what are you sighing for? Leo said, my girlfriend just left. Now I'm all alone in this dorm again, empty, lonely, and cold. EW. Damen grimaced at Leo's dramatic words. Leo glared at him. What's with that look? You dare to look down on me? You want me to tell your girlfriend you were just talking smack about her? Miller, you'd side with the girls over your own bro? You. Ugh. So emotional, Damen said, shaking his head with a wounded expression. Get out of here, Leo said, laughing in spite of himself, and gave Damen a firm pat on the shoulder. They rode the elevator back up to their dorm together. Wednesday was a full day of classes. The professors had finished covering all the material for the semester, so the entire day was dedicated to review sessions, during which they kindly highlighted some key points for the students. It's a well-known fact that when high school teachers highlight key points, it means the whole book is the key point, all of which must be memorized but might not even be on the test. But college is different. When college professors highlight key points, they're really highlighting key points. The things they underline are guaranteed to be on the exam. Memorize them, and you get the points because the person teaching the class is often the one writing the exam. Leo, who had just snuck into faculty offices the day before to get those same key points, felt his world collapse when he saw the professors openly highlighting the exact same material in class. So, his mission yesterday was completely pointless. They were just going to announce it all today, anyway. Whatever, Leo consoled himself. At least I knew a day early. Knowing early means studying early. That's still a head start. The full day of cramming threw Leo back to his freshman year at USC. Back then, he had been more naive, genuinely thinking college finals would be incredibly difficult. He had studied like a madman and accidentally ended up with the highest GPA in his class. Later, after graduating, he'd even written about it in one of his books. The hectic day ended, and Thursday arrived quickly. The morning exam was English literature, which for Leo was a cakewalk. As soon as he got the test, he started writing, flying through the questions. He finished in no time and leaned back in his chair, confident. With half an hour left until early submissions were allowed, he was the first to stand up, walk briskly to the front, and turn in his paper. He then spun around and strode coolly out of the classroom, causing a few heads to turn. Though, in reality, everyone was too busy with their own test to pay him much mind. Leo felt like he looked incredibly cool walking out of that classroom, but the only real effect of his early departure was to add more pressure on the already anxious students. Not long after he left, a second person turned in their exam early. That's right, it was Julianne. The two of them were in the same room for both of their exams that day. Damen was in the classroom next door, and Serafina was on the floor below. After turning in her exam, Julianne tucked her pen into her bag, found her phone on the professor's desk, and walked out of the classroom just as coolly. The moment she stepped out, someone blocked her path. Hey, beautiful, here all by yourself? Want to grab a bite to eat? Are you nuts? Julianne glanced at Leo, who was waiting for her by the classroom door, and couldn't help but laugh. Next time you pretend not to know me, try to make your acting a little more convincing, okay? Ha ha ha. Leo took her bag from her. Come on, let's go get lunch. No, I have to wait for Serafina. Don't worry, Damen will wait for her. Let's go. Julianne waved her hand. No, I promised her before the exam. Seeing her insistence, Leo had no choice but to agree. All right then, we can wait for her outside her classroom. Miller, wait for me. Just as they reached the corner of the hallway, Damien's voice called out from behind them. He had also finished his exam early. The three of them went downstairs to Serafina's exam room. To pass the time, they started chatting. Leo tilted his head and looked at Damen. How'd you do? Fine, it was pretty easy, Damen said, rubbing his nose. Compared to writing a business proposal for the company, these exams are child's play. Julianne, who was squatting by Leo's feet, grumbled, Yeah, if it's so easy, why can't they just schedule everything back to back? Get it all done in 2 days instead of dragging it out until next Wednesday. It's so annoying. Just then, Serafina walked out of the classroom. She had overheard Julianne's complaint and added, Because the school requires us to be here until next Wednesday. They use the exams to keep students from taking off early for break. Hey, Serafina, you finished early too. Julianne smiled at her. Damen chimed in. So it's just a stall for time? Damn, that's a dirty move by the school. All right, let's go eat. I'm starving, Leo urged, reaching down to stroke the fluffy hair of Julianne, who was still squatting by his feet. The 5-day exam period, which felt both long and short, flew by in a blur. And just like that, Leo's first semester at the Royal Academy was over. These few months had been so eventful that it felt like he had been there for years. But thinking back from starting in September to now, January, it had only been half a year. After the last exam on the afternoon of January 15th, all the freshmen would be free to leave campus. The exam schedules for sophomores, juniors, and seniors were different, so their departure dates varied by a day or two. By the end of the week, the Royal Academy would be a ghost town. None of that mattered to Leo right now. All he had to do was get through this final exam. Some students were so eager to go home that they had packed their suitcases and left them in the hallway outside the exam room. The moment the exam ended, they would grab their luggage and head straight for the train station. Leo's family lived in Ethelberg City, so he didn't need to pack anything. He could just drive home after the exam. He'd shown up with nothing but 3 pens. Compared to the English exam, the finance finals were a real struggle for him. For the past few days, he had used every last second on his professional exams, and today was no exception. With 10 minutes left, he was the only one still in the room, slowly but surely working through the problems, fighting for every point. If you asked him why he was trying so hard, he would definitely say, "Because I love to learn, of course." It couldn't possibly be because of a promise involving black stockings, right? He only put his pen down the moment the final bell rang. Julianne, who had been waiting for him outside the classroom, had gotten so bored that she'd finished a whole round of a mobile game. By the time Leo came out, her game was almost over. "What took you so long every single day?" she pouted, letting out a little huff. "How can you criticize someone for taking an exam seriously?" Leo retorted, completely justified. "Oh, get lost." Julianne put down her phone, gave him a little shove, and said, "Come on, help me get my luggage. We're going to the new house tonight to get set up." "All right." Once the exam was over, they navigated the crowded hallways to the girls' dorm. Leo waited downstairs while Julianne went up to get her suitcase. Damen was already waiting downstairs, a common sight these days. He and Serafina had finished their exams early and had come back a while ago. Serafina had spent half an hour packing, and he had spent half an hour waiting for her, playing games on his phone to pass the time, just like Julianne waiting for Leo, right down to playing the same game. When he saw Leo, he immediately put his phone away and scurried over to chat. "Miller, any plans for the holidays?" "No." "Really? None at all." "What, you have plans?" "Actually, I've had this dream since I was a little kid." "What dream?" Leo turned to look at Damen, whose eyes were sparkling with a suspicious light. It didn't look like he was thinking about anything good. "Well," Damen said, "I've always wanted to play with fireworks." What?" Leo was stunned. "If you want to play with them, then just play with them. You never set off fireworks before." "Never." Damen shook his head, a look of profound sadness on his face. "When I was a kid, I could only sit in the heated back seat of an extended presidential limousine, peering through high-definition, one-way bulletproof glass, watching little boys with runny noses squatting on the ground playing with them. Meanwhile, I had to sit there in my custom-tailored children's suit, sipping hot tea and analyzing annual corporate reports. My childhood was so dreadfully boring." Sigh. "Enough. The only thing I hear in that ridiculously over-the-top story is you bragging. I don't feel an ounce of pity for you," Leo said, looking at the melancholic Damen with a deadpan expression. "So what exactly are you so sad about?" It's a great regret for a child to have never played with fireworks and firecrackers in their childhood. Leo shot him a disgusted look, then said, exasperated, "Fine. I'll take you to play with fireworks this holiday." "Really?" Damien's eyes instantly lit up. "Really?" Leo clapped him on the shoulder. "I'll even teach you the most interesting ways to play with them." "Awesome, awesome." Damen nodded enthusiastically, looking like an excited husky. While the two immature men were discussing how to set off fireworks, up in the dorm, Serafina and Julianne were already strategizing how to deal with the inevitable holiday grilling from their boyfriends' extended families. We won't go into the details of their conversation, but by the time they came down with their luggage, the area in front of the dorm was nearly empty. Damen and Serafina were heading out for a celebratory dinner to kick off their vacation. They invited Leo and Julianne, but the two of them were busy that night and declined. After leaving the university, Leo and Julianne drove just across the street to their new house. The interior design was all finished. Leo had specifically instructed that all the doors and windows be left open to air the place out, so they could move in directly. The security in the gated community was excellent, with cameras covering every angle, so no one would dare try to steal anything from their new home. He parked the car at the edge of the yard, and they walked into the house together. Stepping into the living room, Warm yellow light spilled over a large, soft sofa. The delicate fibers of the fabric seemed to shimmer, as if beckoning them. Julianne's eyes were instantly drawn to it. As if her legs had a mind of their own, she started walking towards it. With a sparkle of anticipation in her eyes, she took a running leap and dove onto the sofa, sinking into its plush cushions. She let out a long, contented sigh, reveling in the comfort. "Ah, this is amazing," Julianne hummed in satisfaction. "I'm going to die on this sofa." "Look at you, so easily pleased," Leo chuckled, sitting down beside her and patting her thigh. "Get up. We're here to unpack, not for you to take a nap on the sofa." Fine, I know. Don't rush me." Leo had already hired a cleaning service to scrub the house from top to bottom, inside and out, even trimming the lawn. The only things left to sort out were the items they had bought themselves. They first took a small pushcart to the community mailroom to retrieve all their packages, and there were so many that one cart wasn't enough. After Julianne filled the cart, Leo was left to carry the rest of the packages in his arms. The mailroom was about a kilometer away from their house. Walking there empty-handed was fine, but returning laden with a mountain of boxes was exhausting. After a while, Julianne looked at Leo, whose face was almost completely obscured by packages, and said with concern, "Are you tired? Do you want to give me some? I still have one hand free. I can help." "It's fine," Leo shook his head. "This stuff isn't heavy. I can handle it." "Oh," Julianne said, her eyes narrowing in a playful tease. "Looks like you've got some stamina after all. I was starting to think you really couldn't handle the heat." "Get lost," he retorted good-naturedly. "Ha ha ha." Julianne giggled, then asked, "How much farther to the house?" "Almost there. Just a few hundred more meters. I can see our roof." "Why is our house so far from the mailroom?" Not sure. The development was designed with the privacy of its wealthy residents in mind. Since everyone owned a car, the villa section was intentionally kept quiet, free from communal facilities. The mailroom, shops, and other amenities were all located in the condominium area. Leo thought for a moment. "How about I get a small drop-off point set up near our house? Save us the trip." "Better not. What if the two locations don't sync their deliveries? We'd have to run back and forth, which would be even more trouble," Julianne said. When she lived in the projects, she had to go to different courier stations for different deliveries, which was a huge hassle. But she had no choice. Some things were just so much cheaper online that it saved her a huge chunk of her living expenses. She looked at Leo and continued, "Besides, it's not like we'll have this many packages every day." "All right," Leo nodded. "I'll just buy an e-scooter to keep at the house. We can use that for package runs." They chatted as they walked, and before they knew it, they were at their front door. Dozens of packages, large and small, all contained household items for their new home. For someone who loved unboxing, it was a dream come true. The smaller parcels were Julianne's, while some of the larger items were Leo's, and some were Julianne's as well. They spent what felt like an eternity just sitting on the sofa, opening boxes. "What's this?" Leo asked, holding up a strange-looking rack. "A phone holder? That's a rack for spice jars in the kitchen," Julianne replied, then pointed to another box she had just opened. "And what did you buy here?" "It's not inflated yet. Hold on." Leo picked up a flat plastic object and used an electric pump to fill it with air. Soon, an inflatable pony chair took shape. Julianne stared at the plastic pony, frowning. "We don't have kids. Why did you buy a child's toy? You don't get it." "This is my exclusive steed," Leo declared, plopping down onto the tiny pony chair. His weight made its four little legs buckle slightly. "You?" Julianne looked at him, completely exasperated. "Are you a child? What's childish about this?" Leo shot back. "This pony is super useful. It could be a gaming chair. When I win, I can ride it around the living room in victory. When I lose, I can pin it to the ground and beat it up to vent my frustration." "Go on, get out of here," Julianne said, rubbing her forehead with a weary smile. "You absolute child. I swear. It's not childish, it's really useful." Leo rode the pony chair around the coffee table once, then said to Julianne, "See, you can use it when you write your novel. When you have writer's block, you could just ride this pony around the room for a bit, then get back to it." "Haha, that's enough, haha." Hearing his pitch, Julianne couldn't hold back her laughter. Playtime was over, but the unboxing had to continue. Leo tossed the pony aside and went back to the packages on the coffee table. Just as they were finishing up, Julianne pulled out a brand new, unopened pair of stockings. "Hey, did we get the wrong package? I don't remember buying any stockings recently." She checked the shipping label, and the recipient's phone number was clearly Leo's. Julianne looked at Leo as if she'd seen a ghost, her face a mask of horror. "Do you have a weird fetish for wearing stockings?" Leo laughed sheepishly. I bought those for you to wear. What? What? Julianne's shock turned to indignation. You wish. Don't think for a second that just because you bought them, I'll wear them for you. It doesn't matter. When the grades come out, you'll still have to wear them and walk on my back, Leo said, gently poking her on the forehead. Oh, so that was your plan all along, Julianne said, not hesitating to give his waist a sharp pinch. Hiss. Leo sucked in a breath, but he felt absolutely no pain. Nope, not a bit. After all the packages were opened, the once-clean living room was a mess. Using a new broom, mop, and towels they just unboxed, they cleaned up the trash, bundled it together, and tossed it into the large bin by the front door, which the property management emptied daily. With the trash taken care of, they put all the new household items in their proper places. Finally finished, they collapsed onto the sofa. I'm so tired, I don't want to move, Julianne said, leaning against Leo's shoulder and staring up at the crystal chandelier. Leo thought for a moment. Why don't we just spend the night here? Sure. Wait, we never bought sheets or blankets, did we? All we have is a bare mattress. How are we supposed to sleep? Oh crap, you're right. Her words were a sudden jolt. With all the things they had bought, they'd completely forgotten to get a bedding set. After sitting on the sofa for a while, they both started to feel hungry. A glance at the time showed it was already 8 o'clock. They hadn't eaten dinner yet. The fridge was completely empty, so the idea of cooking at the new house was out. Leo turned to Julianne. Come on, I'll drive you somewhere to eat. Okay, but it's my treat tonight. Why? Because. Julianne thought for a moment. Because I said I'd treat you to a meal when I got paid for my writing. But don't you get paid on the 16th? After midnight tonight, it's the 16th. Then I can withdraw my earnings. Forget it, I'll pay. You could treat me tomorrow. No, I said I'm treating, so I'm treating. All right, fine. You treat, Leo relented, seeing how insistent she was. Julianne opened up Yelp, scrolling through options as she asked Leo, what do you feel like eating? I don't know, you pick. Leo wasn't particularly picky about food. As long as it filled him up, he was happy. Hot pot, Korean barbecue. Ugh, all these chain restaurants have the same menu. Nothing looks that good. Oh, here's a little Sichuan place. The reviews look pretty good. You up for Sichuan? Sure, Leo readily agreed. Once they decided on a restaurant, they didn't waste any time hopping in the car and leaving the new house. In the car, Julianne opened the StoryForge author portal on her phone and refreshed her stats page. It was the umpteenth time she had checked the app that day. By now, the platform should have calculated her earnings from the previous month, which she could withdraw after midnight. But for now, her monthly income still showed a big fat zero. Leo noticed her phone screen and asked caringly, your royalties haven't posted yet? Nope. Julianne shook her head and joked. A platform this big wouldn't stiff a poor little author like me over such a tiny amount, would they? Leo smiled and shook his head, reassuring her, of course not. It'll probably show up in another hour. He remembered his own writing days, when payday was the happiest day of the month. He'd cash out his earnings, and the first thing he'd do was treat himself to a nice meal and then get a good night's sleep. His earnings back then weren't high, but he'd felt a simple kind of happiness. Yeah, but the waiting is torture, Julianne said, refreshing the author portal one last time. Just as she was about to close the app, the data that had shown zero suddenly changed to $8.88. Seeing the number, it took her a moment to process. When she clicked on the payment details page, she finally let out a cry of excitement. Oh my god, my royalties came in. Huh, Leo was surprised. Just like that. Yeah, it just suddenly refreshed. I barely had time to react. How much did you get? $888. The number is pretty lucky, and it's more than I expected. Don't get too excited. You still have to pay taxes on it. What? Leo's words were a splash of cold water. Her smile immediately flattened. They tax you on less than $1,000. Author royalties and regular income have different tax standards, Leo explained. Fine. Ugh, Julianne sighed, looking at her earnings. But don't be too sad, Leo continued. You can file for a tax refund in March. If your total annual income is below a certain threshold, you could get a full refund. Oh, is that how it works? Julianne turned to look at Leo, her eyes shining. How do you know so much? Julianne's question caught him off guard. He thought for a few seconds. I'm a good, law-abiding citizen. It's perfectly reasonable for me to be knowledgeable about taxes, right? Okay, fine. Julianne didn't seem to doubt him. Drive faster, I'm hungry. I'm not a miracle worker. I'm going as fast as I can. The Sichuan restaurant was bustling. Even though it was almost 9 when they arrived, the place was still packed. Julianne scanned the QR code on the table and then handed the phone to Leo. Order whatever you want. Tonight's on me. Don't hold back. Leo waved his hand. No, you order. It's your treat. You should be the one to choose. All right, I'll do it. Julianne, elated by her impending payday, was in a great mood. She scrolled through the menu and immediately picked 3 main dishes. She was about to add a soup, but Leo stopped her. There was no way the two of them could finish that much food. "We can just get the leftovers to go," Julianne said, propping her chin on her hands and looking at Leo. "This is the first time I've ever earned money from writing. It's a huge deal, so this meal has to be grand." After hearing her out, Leo thought she had a point and nodded. "All right, let's make it grand. Add 2 more dishes." The two of them ended up ordering 6 dishes, 3 mains, 2 stir-fries, and a soup. When all the food arrived, their 4-person table was completely covered. Julianne took a picture with her phone and posted it to her social media feed. The caption read, "The great author Hale can finally support herself with her writing." The picture underneath was of the feast, and she had cleverly angled it to include Leo's hand pouring her a drink, a subtle way of showing off a relationship. After posting, Julianne took a blissful sip of the drink Leo had poured for her. Leo immediately took out his phone and liked her post. Reading her caption, his mind drifted. His first royalty payment. It hadn't even been a fraction of Julianne's. It seemed that writing really did require talent. He just wasn't cut out for it. Thinking of this, he smiled. "What are you smiling about?" Julianne asked. "I'm happy for you and your first ever royalty payment," Leo said, looking into her eyes. "Congratulations, great author Hale. You're one step closer to becoming a true literary giant." "No, my dear, I should be the one thanking you," Julianne said, raising her glass. Her eyes were like autumn pools, shimmering with a captivating charm that could stir the soul. The January wind cut against their faces, sharp and biting. There was still a short walk from the restaurant to where they parked. "Are you cold?" Leo asked Julianne. Julianne shook her head. "I'm okay. Not cold." Leo opened his wool coat and pulled Julianne into his arms, wrapping the fabric tightly around her to shield her from the wind. Julianne turned her head to look up at him, a warmth spreading through her that had nothing to do with the coat. It was in her chest, blooming outwards, and she couldn't stop the corners of her mouth from turning up. She tilted her head slightly and planted a soft kiss on his cheek. Leo didn't say anything, just held her tighter. Back in his early days at USC, Leo used to see clingy couples all over campus in the middle of winter and wonder what was wrong with them. "It's freezing out. Couldn't you find somewhere, anywhere, better to make out? Aren't you cold?" Now he finally got it, because now he was one of them. And honestly, 2 people sharing one coat felt pretty damn good. Lost in thought, Leo glanced down at Julianne nestled in his arms. As if sensing his gaze, she looked up at him. She smiled. "What are you looking at? Who's looking at you?" Leo denied it instantly. "I'm obviously watching where I'm going. You narcissist. Shouldn't you be looking forward to see the road? Who turns their head to the side to watch the road? So what if I like to walk with my head tilted? Is that a crime?" "Nope," Julianne said, playfully patting his chest. "Then why'd you hit me? You call me a narcissist, so I have to punch you." "Wow, you're so violent," Leo teased. "If we get married, are you going to be one of those domestic abusers?" "Of course not. I'm a gentle, kind-hearted girl. How could I ever be abusive?" "Oh, good." Before Leo could finish, Julianne continued. "But if you want to be abused, I could always sign up for some classes at a boxing gym." "Huh?" Leo stared at her, completely dumbfounded. Seeing his expression, Julianne couldn't hold it in any longer. "Ah, your face. You look so clueless, huh?" Suddenly remembering something, Leo said, "About the Jang family's gala tomorrow. You did promise you'd go with me, right?" "I suddenly don't feel like going," Julianne said, a mischievous glint in her eye. "I think I'm going to sleep in. You can go by yourself." "Fine, I guess I'll have to go alone." "What a shame." Leo sighed with exaggerated disappointment. "I suppose there will be plenty of beautiful heiresses at the party. And Ethan Cole's celebrity friends will probably be there, too. He mentioned last time that he wanted to introduce me to a few acting students to help me expand my network." "This." Leo's words were cut short as Julianne's fingers found the sensitive spot on his lower back and gave it a sharp pinch. "I'm going with you tomorrow," she declared. Leo turned, a playful look in his eyes. "Didn't you just say you weren't going? You should stay home and sleep in." "It's fine, I can go alone." "I'm not sleeping." Julianne pouted, her cheeks puffed out. "If I sleep in any longer, someone might just find himself a new girlfriend." Leo laughed at that. "Ha, how could I, babe? Don't you trust me? I trust you about as far as I can throw you." Julianne lightly slapped his chest. "What time are we leaving tomorrow?" "Around 10 in the morning." "I'll call you." "No need. Just come pick me up at 10. "All right. So, where are you staying tonight?" "With my mom, of course." Leo drove Julianne to the quiet neighborhood where Clara Hale lived, then headed back to Alleian Estates. When he got home, Charles and Michelle Miller were in the living room, reading the paper and chatting. They both looked up, surprised to see him. Leo found their expressions odd. What's with that look? Charles frowned. What are you doing back here? Leo gave his father a strange look. Ethelberg is on winter break. Didn't you know, Dad? I knew that, Charles nodded. What I mean is, it's the first day of break, and you're already home. Leo shot back. If I'm not home on the first day of break, where else would I be? Sigh. Charles let out a long breath, shaking his head in disappointment. You really didn't inherit any of my good genes, did you? The first night of vacation, and you're not out with your girlfriend. Such a failure. Leo was at a loss for words, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Dad, can you please be serious for a second? Go on, get out of my sight. Seeing you is annoying. I don't want to talk to you. Leo felt 3 giant question marks pop up over his head. Most people get the cold shoulder from their family after being home for 3 days. He was getting on day 1. No, on the very first night. And the reason he was being rejected was for not spending the night with his girlfriend? For a moment, Leo truly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Dejected, he retreated to his room. In the living room, he could hear the faint murmur of his parents' voices as they started talking about him. After a hot shower, Leo lay on his bed in a bathrobe, scrolling through his phone. It didn't take long for drowsiness to set in. Just as he was about to put the phone down and sleep, a message notification chimed. He thought it might be Julianne and eagerly picked up the phone to reply, only to see it was from Damien. Damien, Miller, we heading over together tomorrow. Leo, I have to pick up my girlfriend first. Damien, I have to pick up my girlfriend too. Leo, then what do you mean, together? Damien, what's wrong with that? We can meet up somewhere and then drive to the Cole estate together. Leo, I guess that works. I plan on leaving at 10, pick up Julianne, then head over. We should get there around 11. Damien, sound good. I'll leave at 10 too. We can figure out where to meet up tomorrow. Leo, okay. After messaging Damien, Leo put his phone down and fell asleep almost instantly. Is the gift for the Jang family ready? Rest assured, it's been ready for a long time. Having gone to bed early, Leo woke up bright and early the next morning. But his father was up even earlier. Charles Miller was in the first floor dining room, eating breakfast, a morning paper in his hands. It was moments like these that showed you why he was a top-tier CEO. He was reading the financial news over breakfast, not scrolling on his phone. Most people couldn't manage that for a single day, let alone every day. Charles had little reliance on electronic devices. His phone was a smartphone, but it was practically empty of apps. He used it to make calls, send texts, and review company reports. There wasn't a single entertainment app on it. Seeing Leo come downstairs, Charles put down his paper and smiled. Well, look who's up early even without classes. Yeah, it's Mr. John's birthday gala today, isn't it? Leo sat down across from his father and stretched. Figured I'd get up, get ready, and head over. You don't have to be up this early just to celebrate that old geezer's birthday, do you? Charles frowned. Doesn't the party start at noon? Old geezer. Leo thought to himself, hearing his father's tone. Talk about disrespectful. Well, I'm going around noon, but I went to bed early last night, so I just woke up. You little punk. You didn't even stay up all night on the phone with your girlfriend? Charles's previously stern expression instantly melted into a cheeky grin the moment the conversation turned back to Leo's love life. You really need to learn from your old man. Back in my day, my reputation as a legendary heartthrob was, I'll have a spicy seafood noodle soup. Leo shouted to the chef in the kitchen, successfully cutting his father off before he could launch into his romantic exploits. Undeterred, Charles continued, Let me tell you, your dad, Leo cut him off again. Dad, hurry up and eat. Your breakfast is going to get cold. TSK. Charles shot his son a glare. Could you please not interrupt me when I'm talking? Who wants to hear your boring love stories? Leo muttered under his breath. Your experience is outdated. Charles narrowed his eyes. What did you say, you punk? Leo immediately shook his head. Nothing. Dad, eat your breakfast. You little rascal. Charles chuckled, then dropped the subject and picked up his chopsticks. After he finished eating, he didn't leave the table, but continued to sit there, engrossed in his newspaper. A few minutes later, Leo's spicy seafood noodles arrived. He put his phone down and began to eat seriously. The rustle of a newspaper caught Leo's attention. Dad, he asked, curious, what's so interesting about that paper that you can stare at it for so long? This is the Ethelberg Business Journal. The news in here is a lot more useful than the junk you kids scroll through on your short-form video apps, Charles said, putting the paper down. The information you're exposed to every day is useless, fragmented garbage. You forget it as soon as you see it, and you never stop to think about or analyze any of it. To put it bluntly, you're just killing time. Leo asked, puzzled. And you reading a business journal isn't just killing time? Thwack. Ow. The moment the words left his mouth, Charles reached over and tapped him on the forehead. How big do you think this journal is? Do you think the content they print in here is boring trash? Of course not. These are important stories that deserve careful consideration. You have to find every new policy hidden in the text, predict the next profitable trend, and seize the opportunity. That's how a company and a family grows strong. Not by getting bogged down in internal squabbles that create a toxic mess where nobody makes any money. Understand, Charles's words were a veiled shot at the other prominent families in Ethelberg. Leo could hear the disdain in his tone. Understood. A single conversation with you, Dad, is worth more than 10 years of study. Leo said earnestly, rubbing the spot on his head. Dad, I need to learn more from you in the future. Haha, since when did you get so good at sucking up? Dad, this isn't sucking up. This is from the bottom of my heart. What you just said was truly enlightening. I still have so much to learn from you. All right. Charles waved his hand. If you want to learn, you can start now. Today's morning edition is quite interesting. You can read it after you finish your breakfast. Okay, Leo nodded. He quickly finished the noodles in his bowl, wiped his mouth with a napkin, and picked up the paper his father had been reading. Since the new year was approaching, the Ethelberg Business Journal was filled with plans for the city's development in the coming year, repairs and upgrades to the sewage system, bidding for construction on congested roads, plans to manage industrial pollution in the suburbs, and the planning and construction of a new urban district. Every single article required patience to read. Otherwise, it was completely incomprehensible. Leo read for a while, his mind growing muddled. He recognized every word, but when they were strung together, he couldn't quite grasp the meaning. It reminded him of his high school government textbooks, except those at least had a teacher to explain things. When he got to the section on the new urban district planning, Leo's reading speed slowed considerably. He noticed something. The low-income housing projects where Julian used to live were located within the boundaries of the new district plan. Charles noticed his son's interest. That new district plan is definitely the biggest piece of the pie in Ethelberg next year. The other families will be fighting tooth and nail over it. Leo pointed to the text. It must cost the government a fortune to demolish all these old projects, right? Charles nodded. Of course. The news of the demolitions hasn't leaked yet. Anyone smart enough to go buy a dozen properties in the projects now would win the lottery when the buyouts happen in a couple of years. They'd make enough money to last a lifetime. Leo asked curiously, So, should we go stock up on properties? Stock up on properties for what? Charles laughed, exasperated. You silly kid. Does our family look like we need that buyout money? If we wanted a piece of the action, we'd set up an investment firm and bid on the real estate projects themselves. Oh, right. I guess that makes sense. The government won't be footing the entire bill anyway. I predict the other families will form their own investment firms to bid on the projects. When that happens, it'll be another bloodbath. After finishing breakfast and chatting a bit more with his father, Leo left to pick up Julianne. He didn't understand the new urban district project, nor did he really want to. He had no interest in learning the family business just yet. For now, he just wanted to be a normal college student to enjoy his life. Inheriting the family fortune was a problem for future Leo. Half an hour later, he pulled up in front of Julianne's place. Not wanting to get out of the car, he dialed her number. After a dozen seconds, the call was picked up. Before the person on the other end could speak, Leo jumped in. Hey babe, I'm here. Come on out. Is this Leo? Just a moment. Julianne's in the bathroom. Why don't you come in and sit for a bit? The voice of Clara Hale came through the phone. Leo froze in the driver's seat. The realization that he had just called her mother babe was so mortifying he wanted to hang up the phone and find a hole to crawl into. After a painful 10-second silence, Leo mumbled, No, that's okay, Mrs. Hale. I'll just wait for her in the car. Just let her know I'm here. All right then, Clara agreed, then yelled towards the bathroom. Jules, hurry up. Leo's here to pick you up. I know, I'll be right out. Hearing the mother-daughter exchange, Leo wasn't sure if he should hang up. He figured he should wait for Clara to end the call, out of respect for an elder. But she didn't. She just placed the phone on a table, leaving the line open. A moment later, he heard the bathroom door open. You're dressed so nicely today, Clara said to Julianne. Are you two going on a date? Will you be coming home tonight? Mom, I'm going with Leo to a gala today. Of course I have to dress up, otherwise I'd make him look bad. Julianne's voice was tinged with shyness. And, of course I'm coming home. Where else would I stay? Honestly, Clara lowered her voice. Then you tell me the truth. Have you two? You know what? Julianne played dumb. Don't you play dumb with me. That what? Mom, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have to go, he's going to get impatient. Julianne deflected, grabbed the phone from the table, and rushed out of the house. In the car, Leo had heard the entire conversation, and his face was burning red. He quickly hung up just before Julian got to the car. Click. The passenger door opened and Julianne slid in. She had woken up early to do a full face of makeup and was wearing the haute couture dress Leo had bought her. It came with a matching coat, but Julianne hadn't worn it. The dress itself was a festive wine red, and a high slit in the skirt revealed her long, pale legs. The red fabric made her skin look even more luminous. As she settled into the seat, Leo's eyes were glued to her beautiful legs. "Don't just stare. Want to touch," Julianne said, seeing his fixed gaze. She provocatively lifted the hem of her skirt. Just as the top of her thigh was about to be revealed, Leo quickly reached out and pushed her skirt down. "Ahem, it's broad daylight, and we're in a car. It's not appropriate. You little perv, so you really did want to touch," Julianne said with a wicked grin, then lightly flicked him on the forehead. She had nail extensions on, so she couldn't flick him too hard. It was more of a gentle poke. "Wait, you set me up." Seeing Leo's flustered, red-faced expression gave Julianne a thrill, like she'd just successfully teased an innocent boy. Her smile grew even wider. "So, do you want to touch or not?" Julianne asked, nudging her pale knee closer to the gear shift. "You're going to test a man with this?" Leo said with a self-righteous expression. What man couldn't withstand such a test? He stared straight ahead, then reached his right hand down to shift gears. As he did, his hand accidentally brushed against her knee and then accidentally slid along her thigh. Feeling the unfamiliar texture, he suddenly realized it wasn't the gear shift after all. It's perfectly reasonable to touch the wrong thing when you're driving, right? Like shifting into the wrong gear. "I was just shifting gears, he said, feigning innocence. "I wasn't touching your leg." "Oh." Julianne raised an eyebrow, a smile playing on her lips. "So, what does my leg feel?" "It's all right, but it's so cold out, and you're going out with bare legs. You'll get arthritis. I suggest you add a pair of stockings." "The ones I bought you yesterday would be perfect," Leo said, turning to her with a grin. "Wearing the stockings I bought, you will keep your legs warm and my heart warm. See how much I care about you." Julianne rolled her eyes. "Warm your heart, my foot. Just admit you're a pervert instead of making up so many excuses." Hey. Leo chuckled, then changed the subject. "You didn't bring a coat? You're going out dressed like that?" She shook her head. "It's not cold today, but your legs are so exposed." "Don't you like looking at my exposed legs?" "I love looking, but I don't want anyone else to look." "Come on, I'm buying you a coat to cover up." "No, why would I wear a coat? I wore this dress to show off my figure. If I don't show some leg, what's the point of the slit?" Julianne flatly refused. Refusal denied. "We're buying one," Leo declared, hitting the gas. He drove straight to a high-end department store and dragged her inside to pick out a long, matching coat. The coat was so long it covered her calves, revealing only her ankles. Leo nodded in satisfaction and swiped his card. "Car payment $2, $9.50. "Wait, I didn't even say I wanted it. You just..." "I..." Julianne stared at the price, then at the coat she was wearing. Even though it wasn't her money, her heart ached a little. "It's fine. It looks good on you," Leo said, tying the coat's belt around her waist. Once the belt was tied, her entire upper body was bundled up, with only a hint of her collarbone visible. Everything else was hidden. Julianne pouted. "You've wrapped me up like a burrito. Who's going to see the dress I'm wearing underneath? You can wear it for me to see you home tonight, just for me." Leo said, patting her on the head. "Miller, where are you guys?" "Don't rush me. We just left the city center. Give us a minute." "Dude, didn't you say you picked your girlfriend up at 10? How is it almost 11 and you're just now leaving the city?" "I left after you, and I'm almost there." Leo glanced at Julianne in the passenger seat, wrapped up tightly in her new red coat, and said to Damen, "I was helping my girlfriend buy a dress for the gala." Damen sounded confused. "Why didn't you two buy one last night? It's almost time for the party, and you're just now thinking about getting a dress?" "Sure, don't ask. We'll be there soon. Wait for me." "How soon?" Leo glanced at the GPS. 10 minutes. "Fine," Damen agreed and hung up. After the call ended, Julianne asked, "It's still a 30-minute drive. How are we going to make it in 10 minutes? "It's fine. I'm just messing with him," Leo said, turning to give her a sly grin. "Uffed. Ha." Julianne laughed at his mischievous expression. "When did you get so bad?" "Sigh." Leo let out a dramatic sigh. "It's all your fault for rubbing off on me. Get out of here. Stop talking nonsense." Julianne raised a hand to slap him, but remembered he was driving and lowered it, settling for a glare instead. "I'm gentle and kind. When have I ever taught you such devious tricks?" "You have." "Oh yeah? When?" "Just now, when you lifted your skirt to tease me." Julianne was silenced. He had a point. She was speechless. Leo glanced at her, a smirk on his face. "Why aren't you saying anything?" Julianne's face flushed. Shut up and drive. 20-something minutes later, Leo finally met up with Damen on the main road leading to the coal estate. Damen rolled down his window. You said 10 minutes. It's been half an hour. Leo sighed. There was some traffic. Not my fault. Bullshit. Damen clearly didn't buy his excuse. It's not rush hour. What traffic? I came from the city too, and it was clear all the way. Don't lie to me. There really was traffic. Okay, it's almost noon. Let's just get to the party, Leo said, then rolled up his window, his own version of manually muting the conversation. Damien's car led the way, with Leo following behind. They soon arrived at the grand entrance of the Cole family estate. Julianne stared out the window at the traditional, ornate gate. Wow, their estate looks like an ancient palace. Yeah, this whole area belongs to the Coles, Leo said, gesturing out the window. As far as you can see, the mountains, the water, the trees, it's all their private property. Are the Coles that rich? Julianne asked. The Coles and the Roses are the oldest families in Ethelbert. They have the longest history of the 4 great families. The Jangs and the Songs came after them, while the Sterlings and us Millers are the new kids on the block. Julianne asked, in novels, aren't the families with the longest history supposed to be the most powerful? It feels like it's the other way around now. What thrives must eventually decline. When a family reaches the peak of its power, it begins to fall. New things replace the old, Leo said, gently pinching her cheek. Got it, you little dummy. I get it. So who told you all this? My dad. Uncle Charles is so smart. Why don't you praise me for being smart? Because you call me a little dummy. Ha ha ha. An invitation was required for the Cole patriarch's birthday gala. Leo had been personally invited by Ethan Cole, so he didn't have one, but it didn't matter. The security guards wouldn't dare stop him, not when he was rolling in with Damian Sterling. Besides, Leo was driving a custom Rolls-Royce, the crystal hood ornament glittering in the sun. He didn't look like an ordinary person who would be foolish enough to stop him. So, there was no cliché face-slapping scene. Leo followed Damien's car and drove unimpeded into the estate's parking garage. Damen and Serafina got out first and took the elevator up to the villa. Leo and Julianne waited in the car for a moment before getting out. Why aren't we going up with them? Julianne asked, confused. We need to keep our distance, Leo instructed her. When we get to the main hall, we shouldn't get too close to Damen and Serafina, but we don't have to act like total strangers either. Okay, Julianne nodded. She didn't ask why. She knew Leo must have his reasons. Vroom! As they were talking, a deafening roar echoed behind them. They both whipped around to see a red Ferrari speeding towards them. In the narrow confines of the underground garage, the car was accelerating instead of slowing down. It was clearly trying to hit them. In the split second he saw the car rushing at them, Leo's heart seized. His first instinct was to do what he'd seen in movies, shove Julianne out of the way and take the hit himself. But Julianne reacted even faster. The moment she saw the car, she threw her weight against Leo, trying to push him, but he was a rock. When he didn't move, she instantly wrapped her arms around him, turning her back to the oncoming vehicle. No! Leo screamed, terrified by her action. Just as the red Ferrari was about to slam into them, it screeched to a halt. The front bumper stopped less than a fist's distance for Julianne's legs. She could even feel the wind kicked up by the sudden stop. Leo's heart was still pounding in his chest. His eyes were locked on the driver. Inside the car, Nico Sterling grinned, flashing a row of perfect white teeth. He watched them with a playful, twisted amusement. Feigning innocence, he called out, "Well, a long time no see, Miller. And Miss Hale." Nico's appearance made the air in the garage freeze. Leo's fists were clenched so tight his knuckles were white, his eyes flashing with fury and vigilance. Julianne was still clinging to him, her back trembling slightly, clearly still shaken from the near miss. "Nico, what the hell is the meaning of this?" Leo's voice was ice, his gaze a dagger aimed at the man in the car. Nico, however, maintained his flippant smile as he casually pushed open the door and stepped out. He was dressed in a well-tailored black suit, idly playing with a silver lighter in his hand, his eyes filled with mockery. "Hey now, Miller, no need to be so tense." Nico shrugged, his tone so light you'd think the terrifying incident had been a small prank. "I was just trying to say hello. Didn't expect such a big reaction." "Say hello." Leo gently patted Julianne's shoulder. She immediately let go, and the moment he was free, Leo lunged forward and grabbed Nico by the collar. Even with his collar in a fist, Nico showed no panic. Instead, he raised an eyebrow. "What? Are you going to hit me here, Miller?" Nico had pulled this stunt precisely because he was betting Leo wouldn't dare touch him today. The last time Leo had beaten him up, Nico had been in the wrong, and there was nothing he could do. But this time was different. If Leo dared to hit him now, it would be a direct challenge to the Sterling family. He'd be showing that he had no respect for them. If he didn't fight back, Nico would have successfully intimidated him and gotten his revenge. If he did fight back, even better. The Sterlings would have a legitimate reason to go after the Millers, and not even Damen could protect him. Slap! Before Nico could finish his thought, a sharp slap cracked across his face, stunning him into silence. Nico's eyes instantly turned red with rage. Leo Miller, I didn't touch you this time. You dare to hit me on purpose? Are you trying to declare war on the Sterling family? You're damn right I'm hitting you, Leo said, and followed it with a backhand slap. Slap! This one was even harder. Two bright, red handprints blossomed on Nico's cheeks. Miller, don't think that just because Damen protected you last time, he can save you again. Do you have any idea what happens to people who cross the Sterlings? You dare hit me, slap. Before he could finish, Leo hit him again, leaving Nico completely dazed. You didn't actually think the only reason I dared to hit you last time was because your brother had my back, did you? A cold smile spread across Leo's face, his eyes filled with a chilling menace. You seriously underestimate the Miller family. Leo released his collar. Startled, Nico's legs gave out, and he nearly collapsed, only managing to stay upright by grabbing his car door. Your little joke today wasn't funny, and you scared my girlfriend. These 3 slaps make us even. If you ever dare to pull a stunt like that in front of me again. Leo trailed off, his lips tightening into a friendly smile. He then took Julianne's hand and walked toward the elevator. Inside the elevator, Julianne gently tugged on his sleeve. Lily, are you okay? She whispered. Leo took a deep breath, forcing a small smile. I'm fine, but that was too dangerous. How could you? Julianne shook her head, cutting him off. I couldn't just watch something happen to you, even if it meant my chill. Leo pressed a finger to her lips before she could finish. He gently stroked her hair. You little dummy, don't be so reckless again. I don't want you getting hurt because of me. Julianne nodded, but her eyes were still filled with worry. Lily, that Nico. What does he want? I feel like today wasn't just a simple provocation. Leo was silent for a moment. He's a psycho, he said slowly. He's always pulling this kind of crazy stunt. As the elevator ascended, Julianne thought for a moment. If he's here for the gala too, I have a feeling he's going to cause trouble. Your feeling is spot on. He's here to make a mess, Leo said, lightly booping her nose. Should we? Don't. Leo cut her off before she could finish. We're just here as guests today. We are not getting involved in any business between the Coles or the Sterlings. You got that? Okay. Julianne nodded. She didn't press further. Whatever Leo told her do, she would do. In the original story, Damen and Ethan Cole had gotten into a huge fight over Serafina Rose, which shattered their relationship with the Cole family. Damen never even came to the patriarch's birthday gala. Only Marcus Sterling and Nico had shown up. It was at this gala that the Coles and the Jangs had officially allied with Marcus against Donovan Sterling. But today, Marcus wasn't here. Only Nico, and Ethan, with his sights set on someone new, had no conflict with Damen. The two of them barely knew each other. The original plot was clearly not going to happen, so it was of little use as a reference. Leo had no idea what Nico would do tonight. Based on what his father had told him, his plan was to not get involved, just eat, and make an appearance. He had wanted to keep a low profile, but Nico's death-defying stunt had pissed him off so much that he couldn't stop himself from slapping the idiot. Back in the garage, Nico was still leaning against his car, staring intently in the direction Leo and Julianne had disappeared, lost in thought. The Millers are not to be messed with. They're just some small-time group with a bit of money. The Sterlings hold all the power and wealth in Ethelberg. There's no way he can afford to offend Leo Miller. Touching his burning cheeks, Nico's expression turned incomparably cold. Even now, he paid Leo's warning no mind. Jason Jang walked over and clapped a hand on the still-dazed Nico's shoulder. Nico, man, what's taking you so long to park? Whoa, what happened to your face? When Nico turned, Jason saw the bright red marks on his cheeks, and his eyes went wide. Shut up, Nico glared at him. Stop asking so many stupid questions and go park my car. Oh, okay. And grab the gift from the car for me on your way up. Right. When Leo and Julianne reached the main hall for the luncheon, 2 hostesses at the door greeted them with perfectly practiced, gentle smiles. Welcome, please come in. Julianne nodded silently and glanced at Leo. Is your young master inside? Leo asked. Do you mean Mr. Ethan? Yes, he is. He's currently playing chess with the old master. Chess? I know a little myself. Take me to them, of course. The hostess beckoned over a young waiter. Please escort these distinguished guests to Mr. Ethan. Certainly. This way, please. Led by the waiter, Leo and Julianne crossed the banquet hall to a room at the side. The waiter knocked. Knock, knock. Who is it? Ethan Cole's voice came from inside. Before the waiter could answer, Leo said, "It's me, Leo Miller." Hearing his voice, Ethan immediately called out, "Leo, come on in." The door's unlocked. Leo reached for the handle, but the door was pulled open from the inside. The person who opened it was Damien Sterling. Leo gave Damien a strange look, his expression clearly asking, "What are you doing here?" Damien read his confusion and said simply, "Serafina and I came to pay our respects to Mr. Jang." "Oh, right." Leo nodded and led Julianne into the room. The room appeared to be a tea room, dominated by a large, solid wood tea table. On the curio shelves opposite, various teas and tea sets were displayed. 80-year-old Arthur Jang, the patriarch, sat at the head of the table, sipping tea and playing on his phone. He looked up when Leo entered and gave him a warm smile. Mr. Jang was thin, but in a healthy way. Unlike some elderly men who were just skin and bones with dark spots, his complexion was ruddy. Looking at him, you'd never guess he was about to turn 80. Ethan sat beside his grandfather, also engrossed in his phone. Serafina Rose sat opposite them, next to what must have been Damien's seat, as a cup of steaming tea sat before it. Ethan stood up and introduced them. "Grandpa, this is who I was telling you about, Leo Miller, the Miller family. He's a good friend of mine, and that's his girlfriend, Julianne Hale." Hearing his grandson's introduction, Arthur Jang stood up, his smile widening. "Thank you, both of you, for coming to celebrate this old man's birthday. I'm very happy today." "It's an honor, Mr. Jang," Leo said, walking forward to shake the patriarch's hand. Julianne followed his lead. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Jang." Arthur Jang shook both their hands, beaming. "Good, good, ha. Please sit, have some tea." He then personally poured a cup of hot tea for both Leo and Julianne. Leo respectfully took the cup and took a sip, nodding in satisfaction. "This is a Hong Pao, isn't it? You know your stuff. I like that." Arthur Jang nodded. "This is indeed from the Jiolong Ku Grove. Not many young people know tea like you do these days." "I know a little," Leo said modestly. Beside him, Julianne had tasted the tea and only noticed that it had a pleasant aftertaste and a strong flavor. She hadn't recognized anything special about it, and certainly didn't know its name. She leaned in and whispered to Leo, "How did you know what kind of tea it was?" "Because I'm the author. I wrote this whole world. How could I not know?" Of course, Leo couldn't say that. He whispered back, "I didn't. I just saw the name on the tea caddy next to him and took a guess." Julianne froze for a second, her bright eyes widening in surprise. A smile tugged at her lips, and she had to fight to keep from laughing. The look she gave him was a mix of amusement and exasperation, as if to say, "Did you learn that from me? Don't just stand there. Please sit," Arthur Jang said. "This old man has to get back to his chess game with my grandson. Please forgive me if I'm not a great host." He then picked up his phone and resumed his game. Leo had been puzzled since he walked in. The hostess said they were playing chess, but there was no chessboard in sight, just the two of them on their phones. An electronic version of chess, maybe. "Are you playing chess on your phone?" Leo asked politely. Arthur Jang nodded. "That's right. My grandson recommended this game to me, and I've gotten quite addicted to chasing 3-star, 5-cost units." "A what?" "3-star, 5-cost." Hearing this, Leo's jaw dropped, his eyes widening with pure shock. Ethan looked up from his game. "You don't play auto battlers, Leo?" "I do, but..." Leo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You taught your grandpa how to play an auto battler?" "Yep," Ethan nodded. "He loves it." Arthur Jang said to his grandson, "Stop chatting and upgrade the board." Leo and Julianne were floored. So the stories about 80-year-old grandmas and grandpas dominating online games weren't just urban legends. Damien chuckled from his side. "See? I told you playing an auto battler still counts as playing chess." Serafina gave him a weary look. "Should be quiet." "Oh." Leo was terrible at chess and Go, but when it came to auto battlers, he knew a thing or two. He started giving the patriarch some pointers. "That composition won't work. Your main carry won't have enough damage late game, and your front line can't tank. Grandpa Jiang, listen to me. While you still have a chance, you need to pivot." "Pivot? How do I do that?" "First, you..." Under Leo's guidance, Arthur Jang and Ethan managed to come back, stabilizing their health and going on a winning streak to take first place. After the victory, the look Arthur Jang gave Leo was even more affectionate. He gave him a thumbs up. "Young friend, your skills are superb. You have to teach me more." Ethan smiled at Leo, looking a bit sheepish as he said to his grandfather, "Grandpa, stop playing. You need to go change. The luncheon is about to start." All right. Jang said impatiently, then turned back to Leo with a smile. Young Leo, after the banquet, we must have more tea and discuss strategy. Ah, sounds good. Leo scratched his head, belatedly realizing what had just happened. Didn't I say I was just going to be a spectator? How did I end up becoming friends with the Cole family patriarch over a video game? What the hell am I doing? He turned to look at Julianne. Her expression mirrored his. She looked just as baffled, as if asking, "What are you doing?" The Cole family banquet began shortly after. The guests included members of Ethelberg's 4 great families, as well as some of the Cole's business partners. From the Sterling family, both Damen and Nico were present, and they each brought a separate gift, the meaning of which was painfully obvious. From the Rose family came Serafina and her father, Mr. Rose. The Jang family was represented only by Jason, as his father, Victor, did not attend. The Song family was represented by Theodore Song, who brought his wife and daughter, Audrey Song. He also had a son, Dylan, who was good friends with Damien. Dylan was a high school senior set to attend Ethelberg Royal Academy next year and was a notorious suck-up to Damien in the original story. Audrey was a beautiful, fair-skinned CEO with a reputation for being decisive and efficient. Her brother was the complete opposite, a good-for-nothing, spoiled rich kid, a hopeless case who only got into the academy because his family had pulled strings and thrown money around. When Leo, Julianne, Damien, Serafina, and Ethan emerged from Arthur Jang's tea room, all eyes in the living room turned to them. Leo had wanted to grab Julianne and slip out first, but they ended up being the first 2 out the door. The guests' gazes landed on them before shifting to the others who followed. Who are that guy and the girl on his arm? I don't think I've seen them before. He's probably not from one of the 4 families. But to walk out ahead of the great Damien Sterling, his status must be something special. I've always heard Damien Sterling has a terrible temper. For someone to dare steal his thunder without him getting angry. That young man must have some serious backing. I've seen him before. He's the only son of the Miller family. His father dotes on him like he's the crown jewel, hardly ever lets him appear at these kinds of events. For him to attend Mr. Jang's 80th birthday, the relationship between the Millers and the Coles must be significant. That guy is good friends with Damien Sterling, isn't he? My son said he sees them hanging out together at school all the time. The Miller family has been on a powerful rise these last few years. It's like watching a dragon emerge. I just paid a visit to Mr. Miller last week. Mr. Wong, could you perhaps make an introduction? The guests murmured amongst themselves, their voices just loud enough for Leo to overhear. He, who had sworn to keep a low profile, suddenly felt like he'd messed things up again. He had the sudden urge to strangle himself. Seeing him frozen in place, Julianne gently nudged him with her elbow. When he snapped out of it, she took his hand and led him, oblivious to the stairs, straight to a corner of the room. Damien also led Serafina to a quiet spot, though he didn't sit too close to Leo. Ethan, meanwhile, headed to another inconspicuous corner where a girl in a muted, dusty blue dress was sitting. It was Jessica. If one looked closely, they'd see that the color of her dress was the exact same shade as Ethan's suit. It was practically a couple's outfit. Across the room, no one noticed Nico, who was sitting with Jason Jang, glaring coldly at Damien and Serafina. After a few seconds, his gaze shifted to Leo and Julianne. If he could, he would kill all 4 of them. Under the constant pressure of Marcus Sterling's upbringing, Nico's nerves were stretched taut like a rubber band. The slightest external stimulus was enough to make him snap and descend into madness. Sitting next to him, Jason Jang could already feel the overwhelming resentment radiating from him. He was terrified. If his father hadn't insisted he get close to this psycho, he would have stayed as far away as possible. Not long after Damien and Serafina sat down, Audrey Song approached them, holding a glass of red wine. Audrey was a workaholic who usually stuck to black business attire. It saved time choosing outfits, which meant more time for work. Her personal style was simple. Today, for the party, she wore a white blouse and a leather skirt under a classic Burberry trench coat. Her heeled boots stopped just above the ankle, revealing a long stretch of her fair legs. Paired with her wavy hair, she exuded a powerful, sophisticated aura. Audrey smiled a reserved smile. Damien, long time no see. Damien immediately stood up, took a glass from a passing waiter's tray, and said, "It has been a while, Audrey." Serafina also stood, raising her glass of juice in a similar gesture. From their corner, Julianne asked curiously, "Who's the bombshell with the wavy hair?" Damien seems to really respect her. Leo, cracking open a sunflower seed, replied, "That's Audrey Song, Theodore Song's daughter. Currently the second in command at the Song Corporation. A total workaholic." "How do you know all that?" Julianne asked, turned to watch him. And also, where did you get sunflower seeds? There aren't any on the table. Brought them from home. Want some? Leo said, pulling another handful from his pocket. Oh yes. I was just thinking I needed something to pass the time. The desserts on the table are too sweet. Julianne started on the seeds, then continued. So, are she and Damien close? Her name is Audrey Song, Leo repeated, then explained. Damien's family forced him to start learning the family business from a young age. When Theodore Song found out, he had his daughter tutor him. Audrey is a business prodigy and taught Damien a lot. They're like a mentor and student, and also like friends. Their relationship has always been very good, and he respects her like an older sister. Audrey also sees Damien as a younger brother, because her actual brother is such a disappointment. Of course, Theodore Song's original plan was for them to develop feelings for each other and eventually get married to solidify the two families' interests. After hearing this, Julian pouted and muttered, "It's so tragic for these girls from wealthy families. They're raised from birth to be pawns in a family alliance. Even if they're incredibly capable themselves, they're still treated like outsiders by their own families just because of their gender. It's despicable." Leo sighed. That's why Audrey became a workaholic. She worked hard to prove her own value, to give herself the power to choose her own future, so she wouldn't be reduced to a tool for a marriage alliance. What a strong, independent, and amazing woman. Wait a minute. After a moment of admiration for Audrey, Julianne realized something was off. She narrowed her beautiful eyes and stared at Leo suspiciously. You're not Damien. How do you know so much about Audrey's song? Leo's brain stalled for a second before he came up with an excuse. Damien told me all this one night when he was drunk in the dorm. He probably doesn't even remember it. He talked about a lot of things, his childhood, his family. I didn't remember most of it. Then how come you just so happened to remember the part about Audrey's song? Julianne continued, a hint of jealousy creeping into her voice. Leo was floored. He couldn't believe she was getting jealous over this. Girls who lacked a sense of security in their childhood often grew up to be insecure, suspicious, and easily hurt by the smallest things. When you meet a girl like that, you either don't date her because it can be torturous, or you treat her with the utmost seriousness, using your love to help her heart blossom anew. Anyway, Leo stared back at her, turning the tables. Didn't I only remember because you asked? I told you everything I could recall, and instead of praising me, you're blaming me? Fine, now I'm angry. Huh. Julianne felt like something was wrong with that logic, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. She quickly backtracked. Okay, I'm sorry. I was overthinking things. She reached out and patted his head reassuringly. Fine, I forgive you, Leo said. He looked over at Audrey, who was laughing and talking with Damien, and sighed inwardly. Audrey appeared late in his book as a supporting character. When Donovan and Marcus Sterling were fighting for control of the family assets, Theodore Song was on the fence. The cunning old fox, wanting to ensure he came out ahead, placed bets on both sides. He had his son, Dylan, suck up to Damien, while trying to marry his daughter, Audrey, off to Nico. Fortunately, Audrey, with the connection she had built and the company shares she firmly controlled, had enough leverage to negotiate with her parents. She stalled and stalled until Damien successfully inherited the family fortune and became the sole leader of the Sterlings. With Damien's full support, she finally escaped the tragic fate of being a sacrifice in a marriage alliance. After all that, she cut ties with her family and left to travel the world, becoming a famous travel blogger. It was a happy ending of a sort. The reason Leo remembered Audrey so vividly was because he had based her on a real person. Audrey's prototype was an upperclassman in the Chinese literature department back at USC. She was a local girl whose parents were successful business owners, wealthier than the average person, but when it came to business, whoever has enough money. To expand their business, her parents wanted to marry her off to another, more powerful local family. She refused and threatened to kill herself, but after a long struggle, she was married off anyway. 2 months later, she jumped from building. He heard it was because of domestic abuse. Leo never knew the real reason, and he didn't want to. She was gone. He found out from a classmate where she was buried and went once to leave flowers. Looking at the gentle smile in the photo on her headstone, Leo felt a sense of dislocation. He recalled his first and only interaction with her. He had just started his freshman year. He couldn't remember the exact date, only that it was an autumn afternoon. He was reading in the library, and she was sitting across from him. She was beautiful, but he didn't dare look too closely, only stealing quick glances. Her long, dark hair fell over her shoulders, and she wore a pair of black-framed glasses, her head bowed as she wrote diligently. When the autumn breeze blew through the window, he could smell a faint, pleasant woody scent, like fallen leaves still holding the last warmth of summer. After an afternoon of studying, she took a loaf of bread from her bag to snack on. The moment she tore open the plastic, his stomach let out an embarrassing growl. He was so poor back then, living off of cheap, unsatisfying cafeteria meals that left him hungry. In that moment, their eyes met. Leo's face flushed, and he looked down. The girl, seeing his embarrassment, gave a generous, gentle smile, without a trace of contempt. "Can I borrow your book for a second?" she had asked, pulling another loaf of bread from her bag. "I'll trade you for it." "No, it's okay. You can just take a look," Leo had stammered, refusing the bread and handing her his book. She smiled gently again, then subtly placed the bread next to his hand and picked up the book. The Art of Fiction by Ayn Rand. Good taste. I've read this one too." She nodded in approval, then looked up at him. "Do you want to write novels too?" "Just for fun. If you want to write, you should just go for it. Writing is about doing it. You'll never learn just by reading how-to guides. Don't be afraid of failure. You can always start over." After saying this, she returned the book to him. "I'll tell you a secret. I want to write a novel too." Did you write it?" "Not yet, but the plot is almost worked out. The main character in my book is a powerful woman. She's not controlled by anyone, has a wonderful life, and a man who loves her. They go on adventures together, and their love deepens with each journey." Leo chewed on the bread, listening intently. "I look forward to it. When you publish it, I'll be your first fan." "Deal. My pen name will be Juniper. Don't forget to follow me," she had said, then gathered her things. After returning her library book, she waved goodbye and left. Leo later found out she was 3 years ahead of him. He had kept an eye out for an author named Juniper, but no novel ever appeared. And now, he would never have the chance to be her first fan. After paying his respects, Leo had poured his regret for her into his story. That was why Audrey's song had appeared so suddenly late in the plot, her existence a vessel for the upperclassman's unfulfilled wishes. Even the storyline of Audrey teaching Damen business was so similar to how the upperclassman had encouraged him to write. And in the book, Damen, like the real Leo, respected this older sister figure. The girl outside the book had ended her life so young, but in his book, Audrey's song had truly become the person she wanted to be. Though she was still alone, Leo couldn't imagine the perfect man for her, so he hadn't dared to write one for her. He knew that Audrey, like the girl he remembered, didn't like having her love life arranged for her. "You must be the Leo that Damen talks about. A pleasure to meet you." As Leo was lost in his memories, Audrey's song had already walked up to him, a wine glass in her hand. As Audrey approached, she brought with her a faint breeze carrying a pleasant, woody scent, like fallen leaves still holding the last warmth of summer. It was a scent Leo knew so well. "I'm Audrey's Song, Executive President of Song Corporation. May I have the pleasure of getting to know you, Leo?" "Hello." Leo Miller, of the Miller family. Leo stood up, raising his glass of juice to meet hers. His movements were natural, but his slightly trembling hand betrayed the excitement and nervousness he felt inside. In a way, this was the second time he had met her, wasn't it? So how could he not be excited? "You don't drink?" Audrey asked, her lips curving into a gentle, knowing smile. Leo shook his head. No. He could, of course. He wouldn't have been able to drink Julianne under the table at the taco truck otherwise. He just didn't want to drink on this occasion. He'd already caused one incident in the tea room. "I see." Audrey nodded, raising her glass. "Then I'll toast to you." He doesn't drink, but I do. I'll drink to you." Before Leo could toast her back with his juice, Julianne stepped in front of him, raised a glass of red wine, and looked at Audrey with a defiant air. "Well, all right then," Audrey said, a smile playing on her lips as she clinked glasses with Julianne. Clink. Audrey downed her glass in one go. Julianne, driven by a surge of jealousy, did the same. Normally, she would never be so reckless, but today she was green with envy. Audrey glanced at Julianne, then back at Leo, her eyes seeming to say, "Your girlfriend seems to have a lot of hostility towards me." Leo just shrugged and gave a helpless smile. "This is my girlfriend, Julianne Hale. She worries about me and doesn't like me drinking. My apologies." As he spoke, he placed a steadying hand on Julianne's shoulder, a gesture that filled her with a sense of security. "Don't take a good girl for granted," Audrey advised him, then smiled at Julianne. She continued, "Leo, although we've just met, I feel a strange sense of familiarity, as if meeting an old friend. If it's all right, on behalf of the Song family, I would be honored to call you a friend." By saying she was representing the Song family, she was sending a clear message to both of them. "I'm not interested in stealing anyone's man. I'm here for business. Don't misunderstand." Leo replied jokingly, The last person who said they wanted to be friends with me ended up making a lot of money off of me. Ha! You're very humorous, Leo. Audrey laughed, covering her mouth. But really, I just want to be friends. And if you're friends with me, I won't make money off you. I'll help you make money. You said it. In that case, I accept your friendship, Leo replied, drinking the juice from his glass. Audrey said no more, but drank another glass of wine, a gesture of her sincerity. After a brief chat, she returned to her father's side. Watching her leave, Leo felt a pang of disappointment. Even though Audrey was a character based on the girl from his past, she wasn't her. That girl was just someone who dreamed of a beautiful love, of writing novels, and who had suffered an unfortunate fate. Audrey, on the other hand, had become a rose with thorns, hiding her true self away. Would she have liked the version of herself I wrote? Leo wondered. He didn't know, and he never would. A blush spread across Julianne's cheeks. Her lipsticked lips parted slightly, releasing a faint scent of wine. Why do I feel like you get all sentimental whenever you see Audrey's song? She asked. Do I? You must be imagining things, Leo said, playing dumb. And why is your face so red all of a sudden? Huh. Julianne touched her hot cheeks. Am I drunk? But that wine didn't even taste strong. TSK. Leo sucked in a breath, his heart sinking. Please don't be drunk. He had seen what Julianne was like drunk, and if she lost control here, it would be a complete disaster. No, don't worry. Julianne shook her head, her eyes hazy, but seemingly focused on him. Your girlfriend has excellent self-control. I'll just have some juice to sober up. She then flagged down a waiter and, taking a glass of red wine from his tray, prepared to down it. Whoa. Leo quickly intercepted. You grabbed the wrong one. This is the juice. All right. My mistake. Julian nodded, took the glass Leo offered, and drank it all in one gulp. The cool liquid seemed to lower the temperature of her face, and she nodded in satisfaction. Okay, I'm fine now. Really fine. Totally fine. What's 9,999 plus 2? 10,001, obviously. Julian glared at him. Are you trying to test if I'm drunk with a question for a 5-year-old? That's so lame. Okay, she can still talk back. I guess she really is fine. Reassured, Leo sat back with her, and they continued to eat sunflower seeds and chat idly. Soon, it was time for the main event. Arthur Jang emerged from the back room, dressed in a traditional jacket embroidered with gold and silver threads in a pattern of coins. His silver hair was neatly combed back, and his steps were steady, not at all like an 80-year-old man. He seemed even more energetic than when he had been playing games with them in the tea room. He was flanked by his son, Edmund Cole, and his grandson, Ethan. Ahem. Arthur Jang cleared his throat, and the noisy hall immediately fell silent. Everyone waited for him to speak. Today is my 80th birthday, he began. I'm delighted that you all could grace me with your presence to celebrate. Neither Leo nor Julianne were fans of formal speeches. They continued their own conversation, switching from talking to texting. A bored Damen, looking over, saw them furiously typing on their phones and decided to join in. Damen Miller, what are you and your girlfriend talking about? Leo, don't ask. Damen? After the formal speeches, it was time for gift giving. At a top-tier family banquet like this, receiving gifts was a low-key affair. It wasn't like in some trashy web novel where each person would announce their gift and its price. That was far too tacky. If you really wanted to show off, you'd put the gift in a translucent box, letting the guests catch a glimpse of it accidentally and gasp in astonishment. The quiet flex is the deadliest. That was exactly how Damen presented his gift. A golden tortoise, encrusted with 1,000 precious gems, housed in a semi-transparent box. The moment it was presented, a wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. This was the gift Donovan Sterling had prepared for Mr. Jang. He had received intelligence that his brother, Marcus, was planning to give a solid gold tortoise. If Marcus was giving gold, he would give gems. It was purely to one-up him. Originally, Damen had been too angry about the Ethan situation to attend, so the jeweled tortoise was never delivered, which had indirectly pushed the Cole family closer to Marcus. Today, when the jeweled tortoise was brought out, a huge smile spread across Arthur Jang's face. He immediately had his son, Edmund, hold it up for everyone to see. In the audience, Nico's face turned green with rage. He had never imagined his uncle would use such a method to crush them. Damn it, Donovan Sterling, Nico cursed inwardly. You give him a jeweled-up turtle. Why don't you just stud your wife with diamonds and send her over to the old geezer too? Nico's curses against his uncle were vicious. If Donovan ever heard them, he'd likely be taken out for another beating. Sitting next to him, Jason John's heart pounded just hearing the words, terrified someone else might overhear and report back to Donovan Sterling. Before meeting a psycho like Nico, Jason had always thought of himself as arrogant. Now he realized his own conceitedness was nothing compared to a true lunatic. He had a growing premonition that Nico was not a reliable partner. The Jang family couldn't afford to lose this gamble on the Sterling's power struggle. Instead of betting on both brothers, maybe it was better to side with the Millers. At least Leo Miller, compared to these two, seemed like a normal person. Jason's gaze shifted to Leo in the corner. He was already thinking of switching allegiances. The weather-vane personality was a perfect match for his own. Beside Leo, Julianne noticed Jason's strange stare and felt a sense of unease. "The guy sitting next to Nico is looking at you weirdly," she whispered. "Be careful. That guy, isn't that Victor Jong's son?" Leo narrowed his eyes, looking at Jason. Seeing Leo look back, Jason immediately broke into a smile, as if trying to show goodwill. However, sitting next to Nico, and after what had just happened in the garage, his smile looked more like a provocation to Leo and Julianne. "See," Julianne whispered, "I told you that kid was trouble." "Yeah," Leo nodded. "Anyone who hangs out with Nico Sterling can't be a good person. It's a no-brainer." The Jang family's rise to power was the dirtiest of the four families, and in the book, their ending was anything but good. Leo had no intention of associating with people like them. Jason, meanwhile, was oblivious to Leo's thoughts, happily assuming his gesture of goodwill had been accepted. It was pure wishful thinking. After Damien's gift, no one dared to present theirs for several minutes. It wasn't because their gifts were better and they were afraid of upstaging the Sterlings, but because Nico hadn't presented his yet, and they didn't dare go before him. This put Nico in an awkward position. His gift, a solid gold tortoise in a similar translucent box, was obviously inferior to Damien's gem-studded one. To present the same thing of a lower quality would be pure public humiliation. He shot a look at Jason. Jason understood and, not daring to refuse, stood up to be the one to stick his neck out. The Jang family wasn't subtle. They directly gifted several gold bars. It was a display of wealth, but it lacked the grandeur of the Sterling's tortoise and was a bit vulgar. But that was the extent of the Jang family's class. They couldn't produce anything more refined. With the Jangs breaking the ice, the other families ignored Nico and proceeded. The Rose family presented a cane with a shaft of priceless Zeton wood, which served only to highlight the headpiece. A gentle jade dove, a well-preserved antique from a century or two ago. Its value wasn't cheap, but compared to Donovan Sterling's ostentatious display, it was more understated. The Song family's gift was a ginseng root and a collection of expensive herbs. Finally, with most of the gifts presented, Nico could wait no longer and had his golden tortoise brought forward. He had hoped to do it quietly, but he was wrong. Everyone was watching him. The atmosphere in the hall instantly became awkward. If Leo were in Damien's shoes, he probably would have relentlessly mocked his younger cousin. But Damien himself wouldn't do such a thing. In his alpha billionaire persona, he disdained such childish behavior. Julian pointed at Nico and giggled. He's a clown." Her voice was quiet, only loud enough for Leo to hear. "Shh." Leo put a finger to her lips to quiet her, but when he turned, he saw her eyes were half closed, a hazy look in them as she gazed at him. "You're not actually drunk, are you?" Leo's heart tightened as he saw her tipsy state. A moment ago, her face hadn't been this red. Now she looked completely plastered. He was starting to panic. "Don't worry, I'm not drunk. I'm great. Mwah," Julianne said, then planted a kiss on the finger he had placed on her lips. Okay, diagnosis complete. She was definitely drunk.